Donna Guerrero. And the stenographer is Carol Ogden. Sorry. Getting old, brain goes quick. Thanks, Carol. Okay, board members, hopefully you've had a chance to review the meeting minutes from our May 3rd meeting. I would entertain a motion to approve the meeting minutes from May 3rd.
I make a motion to approve the minutes of the meeting.
Second.
Any discussion, changes, modifications? Not hearing any. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. I will just, for the public's benefit, we have 7 cases tonight. We should be able to get through them in a timely order, but if something occurs and cases drag on, we will not hear a new case after 10 p.m. We need an hour for the board to be able to deliberate and make decisions at the end of the meeting. So that's when the decisions will actually get made at the end of the meeting. That's when we deliberate. But we will not hear any new cases after 10. Just want you all to be aware of that. Okay, that being said, Donna, if you will read our first case, please, of new business.
Case 23-007, Michael Cotugno as applicant and owner of property located at 149 Ridge Road, listed as Plat 42, Lot 112, seeks a variance to deviate from section 4.4.B.1.c, residential uses accessory family dwelling unit, to construct an accessory family dwelling unit in an R medium district.
Good evening.
Good evening, board members.
Would you state your name and address for the record?
Sure.
And then I'll swear you in.
Okay. Michael Cotugno, 149 Ridge Road, Smithfield, Rhode Island.
Okay, Michael? You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, please proceed. Tell us what you're trying to do.
Yes, I live on 149 Ridge Road here in Smithfield, and I am asking for a variance for 300 square feet. Basically, when I started this project, I was unaware of the difference between habitable space and living space. I'm building this auxiliary dwelling unit for my elderly mom, who is here tonight. That's why it's a lot wider and it's not, higher. So basically, the extra square footage is just a garage and a utility room for a washer and dryer. The actual square footage of the residency is only about 800 square feet in total, 795, I think.
So what you're asking for then is 300 square feet of dimensional relief?
That's correct.
As our ordinance says, accessory family dwelling unit should be 900 square feet.
Correct.
Okay, very good. Was out there. Looks like the foundation is in, the slab is in.
Yes, I was issued the permit for the foundation. Yes, it is. We're excited.
Okay. All right. Pretty straightforward. There's nothing else you need to tell us, right?
Not that I'm aware of. I'm new at this.
No, you don't need to be an expert. Board members, any questions for Mr. Cotugno? No? Yeah, your utilities for the new unit, where are they coming from?
The main unit.
Oh, so it's not a new out of the road. You're attaching it to your existing house.
Yep.
Water, sewer, electric, all of it.
Correct. We put in an entire new septic system for both of the buildings.
Okay.
That's
already
already done.
both.
Yep,
All right, excellent.
that is already done.
Good. Thank you. I don't see, is there anything else in the technical report? Yeah, we got And you've been to DEM to get the septic system approved?
Yes, that was done immediately before we even got started. DEM has been back out on the site and they've approved everything.
Excellent, okay. Okay. All right, if there's no further questions, I'd like to open up the public hearing. Would anyone like to speak in favor of this application? Would anyone like to speak in opposition to this application? Not hearing any. I'll close the public hearing, and I'd entertain a motion to take this under advisement.
I make a motion to take this under advisement, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Any further discussion, questions? All right, not hearing any. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. Thank you, Michael. We'll be voting on this at the end of the meeting. If you don't want to hang around, you can check with the building official's office in the morning.
Okay,
All right?
thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Okay, next case, Donna.
Case 23-008, Diana Brennan and Matthew Stith as applicants and owners of property located at 7 Orchard Avenue, listed as Plat 53, Lot 36, seek variances to deviate from section 4.4.A.4, animal raising non-commercial outdoor, and a special use permit under section 4.3.A.4 and 4.4.A.4, animal raising non-commercial outdoor, to house hens in a mobile chicken coop / tractor in an R20 district.
Good evening. State your name and address for the record, please.
I'm Diana Brennan. I live at 7 Orchard Ave in Greenville, Rhode Island.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Very good. Please proceed.
Okay, so we are seeking to have up to 6 and no more than 6 hens on our property in a mobile tractor that we can move them around to fresh grass regularly. Basically, we enjoy organic gardening and we enjoy the idea of raising our own food, and I think it would be very educational for my young daughter. The neighbors are all it's the ones I've spoken to, been able to speak to. There's one I have not been able to speak to yet, sitting here today, so I get to hear from him today. Have been very supportive and enthusiastic about having them for their children to experience as well. So we are seeking the variance because our lot size and also just the location of the coop would kind of move around our yard.
Why do you call it a tractor?
I'm not sure why they call it. That's the name of the thing. It's moved by hand, so it has wheels, and I just kind of drag it around. But I'm not sure why they call it a tractor. That's just what they're called.
When was the last time you moved it?
2 days ago?
So you have it already?
Yeah, so we have the coop, and we inherited some chickens with the coop, and we want to make sure everything is on the up and up. So we do have someone who will take the chickens if we don't get these variances, but we certainly would love to be able to keep them if we do get them.
Okay. I was out to your property.
Yeah,
Now I can't remember if it was yesterday or the day before.
I think it was yesterday. My husband told me about it.
Yes, yes. So, but by the way, the property is owned jointly between you and Matthew Smith?
Yeah, Matthew Stith is my husband. He's home with our daughter tonight.
And you both own the home?
Yep.
It doesn't appear very mobile.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. It's got so there's wheels that fold up and down, and then there's handles on the front, and so I can pop the wheels down and then pull it with the handles to move it around. We also are getting a more predator-proof larger run for when we're not home, if we wanted to let them out, and that is not mobile, but the coop and the tractor part is mobile. If that makes sense.
So the chickens will not be in their coop. they're going to actually be out roaming the yard.
If we were home with them, that's what we prefer to be able to do because it's just better for the chickens. But we have hawks across the street, we have foxes denning nearby, so we just want to protect them. So that's why we have the run.
The temporary fence that I witnessed wouldn't hold out a coyote.
No, absolutely not. And that is why we would not want them to be out there unsupervised without, like, literally us there with them. And that's one of the reasons why the tractor and the smaller metal sort of wire is much safer for them if we weren't to be there to have a close eye on them. So we're often outside. We spend a lot of time outside in our yard. And when we're out in our yard, we would like to let them kind of range, but we want to protect them from the predators when we're not home.
Okay. Board members? Well, look, the issue is the zoning department was very careful in creating the regulations for animal raising.
Sure.
And the variances that you're requesting are exorbitant. You are a long way away from 80,000 square feet, which is the minimum size that the zoning board has, the regulations have been written to support. And there's a lot of reasons for that. R20 zoning is pretty densely created housing. And the opportunities to attract animals, including rodents, who love chicken feed and things, that's a significant problem. If you're going to introduce chickens into an R20 zone, and the potential of bringing rodents into that area is really detrimental to the rest of the neighborhood.
Understood, understood. And one thing to respond to that is just that we do have a rodent-proof feeding system, a rodent resistant, and any food storage would be in rodent-proof containers.
Rodent-proof, I dare say I've never seen any kind of chicken coop or any kind of chicken run that didn't have chicken feed that had gotten out, gotten kicked, gotten moved, gotten dispersed by the chickens. I understand that you might have containers, but that's not going to keep the chickens from kicking
Okay, yeah,
feed out.
yeah, I haven't had that happen, but I appreciate the concern.
The other thing is the refuse from the chickens.
Yeah, so we have an organic garden and we plan to compost it and use it in our organic garden.
Okay, but while it's being composted, it doesn't mean it's without odors. Or when the chicken droppings are first created, there's odors. And again, in an R20 zone, that's a real detriment to a neighborhood.
Understood. We do have some letters of support from our immediate neighbors who would be the closest to the,
So you're at 7,
yes.
and I saw one from 1, which is down
There
on
should
the
be one,
corner.
there should be one letter that has signatures from a bunch of people, and then there's 2 individual letters, one from, I forget the address on Oakhurst, and then one from 5 Orchard Ave, or Tella.
I don't see one from 5. That was my concern.
Oh, okay. I wonder if they didn't. There was 2 like separate letters from the immediate abutters, and then one that had,
You're talking about the form letter. The form
Yeah.
letter that one person wrote and then you distribute around and people signed. So this isn't really input on the neighbors as much as it's a signed
I
form
can
letter.
ask them to. I could ask them to do more than that. That's what I asked them for, so that's what they provided.
Yeah, but 5 isn't on here. That's the neighbor. 5 is the next door neighbor. What's the neighbor on
Should be
Oakhurst?
Dorian Forrest and Laura Tella.
Yeah, this is
We have Tella.
Laura Teller.
Now,
Yeah, Laura Tella is at 5.
what's the neighbor on Oakhurst?
That's Dorian Forrest. And she should have a separate letter as well.
Now, what do these neighbors know about your raising of these chickens?
Well, they certainly know that they're there now. They're quite excited about them. They come and give them lettuce and things like that. They've come to visit them. They remember when years and years and years ago, there were chickens in the neighborhood right across the street. This was way back. And they remember them fondly. So that's kind of their view on it, is just that they're happy to have chickens back in the neighborhood.
What is the size of the coop with the run?
There should be a schematic in your packets. I think, so it's 9, the run is 9 feet by 5 feet. And I don't remember off the top of my head the coop itself.
But that's not your intent, is to keep them in that run. Your intent is to.
I would
is to
prefer
take
to
them.
be able to let them out when I'm home, but
I mean, that's clearly what your fence in your yard
Yeah.
implies, that,
Yeah.
that they're gonna, I mean, they could run from the back where I saw it, almost all the way to the front
Right.
of your yard.
that would be our
That would
request,
be,
yeah.
I mean, it's like a third of your property. Which is probably the only humane thing to do, because this would be a very,
Yeah, it's.
very contained space for the chickens to try to exist. Do you have any intent to have roosters?
No,
That's good, because they're totally banned. They're totally banned, roosters. So, you're also don't have the ability to keep the chickens 50 feet away from your property line.
correct. They would have to be in my bathroom.
They have to be,
They would have to be in my bathroom to be 50 feet away from the property.
right, that's another reason why we don't have chickens in R20s, because you can't keep them away from the neighbors. And can't keep them away from the neighbors, the rodents, the odors. Composting on your property almost sounds worse than having it hauled off. Okay. Any other questions from the board?
Jim, I think that because of the size of the lot, it's, and I have to bring up the fact that a few months ago, we denied a street over from raising fowl, and I think she had ducks or anything like that.
Mhm.
Again, because of one, the size of the lot. In the refuge, it does attract rodents. I don't care how well you keep them, you know.
It does.
It does attract it,
And predators.
absolutely, especially in that area too.
Yeah.
With all the disruption of the area, you know, we have coyotes, fox, I mean, they're all over the place. So I mean, it's,
So
It's
it
a small lot.
becomes an attractive nuisance.
exactly.
Okay. Linda, any questions?
Was it your intent to always have 6?
Not necessarily. We would be happy to have, I think, a minimum of 3, because chickens are not very happy when there's fewer than 3, but not necessarily 6.
How about the people across the street? I can't tell based on my map here right now, but I know there's 2, 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7. So across the street, the neighbors across the street?
It would be Helen, I don't know if I can pronounce her last name.
Well, two of them
Gloria.
from the same
So
home,
every-
Yeah, there's 2 families that live
It
there.
occurs-
Family.
Okay.
Yeah,
and they're across the street.
Yeah.
So you have some distance between that house and the others. So we're same with 2. Both 2, 4, and 6 are across the street. The topography is, the solicitor was curious about the topography.
Sure. So we have, our house is central. The front yard is very flat. There's a slope, I'm not sure what the percent slope is, but down to the back area, which is again relatively flatter. And so the area right now that we plans to sort of have as their area is sort of like flattish at one end, a bit of a slope, and then flattish at the top, if that makes sense.
So you're going to keep these hens within 10 feet of your property line. Primarily, it's going to have to be in the rear and to the, I guess, Smith Avenue side of the house. Because the other side of the house, you have that pond and all the children's things, and then you obviously couldn't put it in the front yard.
Right.
So it's actually a pretty limited area where you could move this thing around. You might be able to move it from one little corner to another. Yes.
Yeah, so it would change seasonally as well. So when it's, off season, like fall, early spring, winter, we'd be able to move it nearer to the gardens and the greenhouse because we wouldn't be actively working in that area. And that's part of the reason we wanted to do the chicken tractors. When we do that, they're able to sort of do some of the gardening work as far as pest control and things like that. So they'd eat like tomato hornworm caterpillars and like things like that are tomato hornworm caterpillars and things like that would otherwise infest the garden. So they're kind of helping in the garden during the off season while things aren't growing.
Okay. All set? Okay. I'd like to open this up to open up the public hearing. Would anyone like to speak in favor of this application? Not hearing any. Would anyone like to speak in opposition to this application? Please come up to the podium. I think I saw this woman first. We'll give her a chance to go. Please state your name and address for the record.
I'm Brenda Michon. I'm at 5 Oakhurst Drive in Greenville.
5 Oakhurst, okay?
Yep, and there's only one house between her
Hang
house.
on one second, hang on one
Sure.
second. Raise your right hand. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Absolutely.
Okay.
There's her house, and there's Forest, is the other house next to her, and I'm the one after it.
Okay,
And Forest signed the petition, but she is only a renter. That family is only a renter. They don't own that house.
oh,
And right across from me on Oakhurst, they're renters. They don't own that house either.
okay,
Okay. And I got the letter, and that was the only time I knew of this. And I don't know what other neighbors even got the letter, because my other neighbor never got one. And she lives on it's on Fairview, which you can see from my door. It's like across, I'm on the corner, so you can see her house. She never got a letter, but she is here today.
okay, well, that's fine, and anyone's available is welcome to speak.
I've done a lot of research on animals and chickens, and it's not just the chicken feed. It's also, they draw insects. Some of them are ticks, some of them are mites, and those carry diseases. And those diseases spread to people. So it's not just the feed, but also the chickens themselves cause problems because, as you said already, that many of the animals, wild animals, feed on them. Some of them actually, even though they can't maybe get into the cage, they can grab them and they pull, and then they end up with the head, and the bodies remain, which also is really disease. So it's many And again, the smell, which you already covered. The other thing is if you draw these animals to the neighborhood, which we have fox, I know I've seen them, red fox. Some of the birds, I know like the hawks will go after them too. And what they do is carry them away from the site and start eating them somewhere else. And it could be one of my other neighbors' houses. And then you also have them regurgitate the bones and whatever they don't want to eat, toenails and all that, and that's plopped away from the house. When we have more animals coming besides fox, you know, they're always telling you, don't be careful of your bird feeders because it can draw eventually bears even. Chicken feed is definitely going to draw everything. Rats can actually chew through plastic, they can chew through wood, as you know, but they also can chew through mesh, and they can actually chew through wire, which I didn't know that till I started looking it up. That's a frightening thought. I think the most frightening thing would be the disease that they carry. To me, that's frightening. There's kids in the neighborhood, they play in the street because it's a wonderful neighborhood. And the houses are so close together, as you know. There's only one house between us and they're the renters. The one house across the street, they're renters. I really would not be happy. And I've been an owner for 15 years. And I've never spoke at a town hall meeting before. And I'm an animal lover. I also have a dog, a small dog. And I would also be fearful for them when the other animals come through. My house is about the only house that is fenced. Most of the houses there are not fenced. So there is no boundaries from one house to the other. So I'm really not in favor of it.
Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Evening.
Hi, would you state your name?
Paul Stadnick, 30 Curse Drive,
Okay,
S-T-A-D as in David, N as in Nicholas, I-C-K.
swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Okay, please proceed.
I think you mentioned most of the reasons why the ordinance was put in place. I'd just like to ask the board to adhere to the ordinance. It makes no sense to have the chickens to me. You mentioned, my neighbor one time got the wet manure from Stance put in his garden, a week of just smell coming across. She also mentioned that there was chickens there at some time in history. I first moved in 61. My parents passed in 2011. I've owned it since then. I've never seen chickens. So I don't know where that came from or what neighbor said that.
But so as far as you know, there's never been chickens in that neighborhood?
No, correct. So like I said, I wish you to adhere to what the ordinance originally states.
Thank you for your time. At this point, I think go ahead, come on up.
Janet LeBrecq, 8 Fairview Drive.
You have to go slow. Did you get that, Carol? Oh, very good. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Certainly do. Thank you. Although I can appreciate what she wants to accomplish and do for her daughter and all of that, because we see them in the neighborhood all the time and they are delightful people. I do have just 2 things of concern. There's a lot of brand new construction and selling of land on Orchard Avenue. Although it's considered Johnston, it's approximately a street and a half away from their home. So as the land is being cleared and everything else, it's going to disrupt the ecosystem and the animals that already live there, pushing them towards the residences, looking for new sources of food and water. That's a big concern of mine. And I don't know if this is just coincidence or not, but I've lived in my home for 25 plus years, and I have never had a dead animal or anything on my property. And last week, in the corner of where the house meets my stairs, there was a dead, I'll say, hen, chicken. It wasn't big enough for a turkey, and buried with just a little bit of sand that we had to remove from the property. And I've never had anything like that before. So I am concerned based on all the reasons that everyone else mentioned. But so that's all I wanted to say. But thank you for your time.
Thank you. Come on up.
Hello, my name is Patricia Stadnick, Stadnick.
Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do. I am the owner of 4 Oakhurst Drive, and I rent that house out. So the people who signed that were not the owners. And I too object to the chickens because it's across the street from me and across the street from my husband's property at 3 Oakhurst Drive, whose property abuts the backyard where the chickens would be. So I object on, the rodents, the smell, any noise. I just want you to stick to the ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you. Come on. Oh, no, there's a whole room full of people.
Hi, my name is Lisa Kearns. I live on 31 Greenbrier Road in Greenville.
You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
I just wanted to say that I am very good friends with both Brenda and Janet, though I don't live in that neighborhood. I live a block away, maybe 2 blocks. And I know about rats and mice and what they carry, specifically Lyme disease. I've been suffering with Lyme for about 25 years now. And it's no joke, though people might think it's a joke. I've been on multitudes of medications and so on and so forth. And the just how you feel with Lyme. And I'm lucky I'm able to work right now. I was almost at the point where I had to, file for a disability. You have different kinds of Lyme disease. You have co-infections, which is what I have. I have Lyme, and I have a co-infection known as Babesiosa dukkani. My sister was also diagnosed with Lyme, who lived in Cumberland, who just moved to Florida. She's now seeking treatment with the same physician that I am. So the culprit who carries Lyme disease is deer, obviously, but also mice, predominantly mice and rats. So if this chicken coop is allowed on this property and it attracts mice and rats, they could infect the adults in the neighborhood, the children. I mean, this is a pretty bad disease. My physician, she helps people from all over the country. Furthest one away that I know of is New Orleans. So it really isn't a joke, and I would, with respect, please take this very seriously, because it's not something that you want to, approve just because they're cute. And, I understand what she's trying to do, but I don't think this property, this R20 property is large enough to accommodate, chickens or anything like that.
Okay. Thank you for your input. We also should read into the record, we have 2 letters that we'll ask the clerk to read into the record.
Okay, the first is an email addressed to Christopher Gentile from Daniel Lilly, dated Thursday, June 1st, 2023. The subject is opposition letter to mobile chicken coop / tractor variance on 7 Orchard Ave, Greenville, Rhode Island, public hearing June 7th. Hello, Chris. Per our conversation, I am writing a letter in opposition to having a chicken coop installed on the property of 7 Orchard Ave, Greenville, Rhode Island. We live in the neighborhood a few houses downwind from the proposed chicken coop property. This is a densely populated neighborhood with many houses fairly close together and not many fences. The property in question currently does not have a fenced-in yard and is on a corner lot. The yard size does not meet the town size requirements, which is why the applicants are asking for a variance. Introducing a chicken coop into this neighborhood would invite several problems, including foul odors wafting through the neighborhood from animal feces and waste, sanitary issues such as disposal of chicken waste / feathers, and chickens running out into the very busy streets, including children at play in these streets. These are just a few of the concerns that come to mind and should be enough to reconsider and take pause about making this decision. A more rural neighborhood would be appropriate for a chicken coop. As a neighbor who is literally downwind from this property, we oppose this variance for a chicken coop on 7 Orchard Avenue property. Thanks, Daniel Lilly, 6 Oakhurst Drive, Greenville, Rhode Island. The second letter is dated June 7th. To whom it may concern, addressed by Dan and Christina Lilly of 6 Oakhurst Drive in Greenville, Rhode Island. To whom it may concern, we received the letter notifying us of the public hearing to discuss this variance request and did research to understand the impact of having hens in insufficient space in a densely populated neighborhood. We prepared for the hearing to understand both sides of the issue. Raising hens in inadequate spaces that are too small is unfair and unhealthy for the hens. If they do not have the room to roam and get exercise, the result will be stressed hens. Crowded, stressed hens are more likely to quarrel and pick at each other, leading to open sores and broken feathers that can lead to infection. Disease-carrying microbes thrive in crammed, dirty coops. There are space requirements for raising hens in Smithfield for a reason. We do not support a variance or special use permit allowing hens to be raised at 7 Orchard Ave in Greenville. Having hens also brings undesirable impacts to our densely populated neighborhood, attracting rodents. Rats and mice are attracted to leftover chicken feed, attracting predators that will prey on our pets when they are outside in the yards. The horrible smell of chicken feces. Ammonia is a natural byproduct found in poultry manure, and when in vapor form, smells incredibly strong and foul. The party requesting the variance live in a house that abuts a neighbor's backyard, and the smell will waft through the neighborhood. Kind regards, Dan and Christina Lilly.
If no one else has any comments regarding this application, I'd like to close the public hearing. And does the applicant have anything else to say before we close the public hearing? She's gone? Okay. All right, then I'll close the public hearing and entertain a motion to take this under advisement.
Make motion that we take this under advisement.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. Next case.
Case 23-009, Bellini Construction Company Incorporated as applicant and owner of property located at 8 Sheffield Road, listed as Plat 44B, Lot 59, seeks a variance to deviate from Section 5.4, Table 1, Dimensional Regulations, to construct a single-family dwelling in an R20 district.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Please state your name and address for the record.
James Bellini,
James Bellini. Address?
38 Wilbur Avenue, Cranston, Rhode Island. Wilbur Avenue.
Wilbur.
Wilbur.
Is you ready to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Very good. Tell us what you'd like.
Well, we're here for relief as recommended by the Department of Environmental Management for frontage setback on Lot 59 on Sheffield Road. They feel that that would be an appropriate application to build a house on once we get that 5-foot setback.
So the only variance you're looking for from this zoning board is a 5-foot setback variance. Instead of 30 feet, you went 25 feet.
Exactly.
You don't need any other relief from wetlands?
I'm sorry?
Do you need any other relief, variance relief from the
We're
wetlands?
not looking for wetland relief, we're looking for setback relief. The wetland is determined by the Department of Environmental Management. And they feel that with the setback relief that we're looking for and the size of the foundation we're going to be putting in, that should give us adequate relief from the wetlands.
Are you going to have a basement in this home?
I'm sorry, you have to speak
A
up.
basement? Are you going to have a basement in this home?
Yes,
And what, relative to the water level in that area, is the floor of the basement going to be below the water
No.
level?
well, that's determined by the appropriate parties that will determine the water level of the lot, whether or not the basement floor, you cannot put a basement floor in water level. It has to be above a certain dimensional area. So that will be determined by the engineering.
Okay.
Did you already get your DEM?
You have to speak up, I'm sorry.
Did you already obtain your DEM approval that you were just talking about?
No, we do not have approvals because we do not have that 5-foot setback.
How do you know DEM said the 5-foot setback would be appropriate?
Well, I have to go through a process. I have to, if and when we receive that 5-foot setback, then I can make the application to the Department of Environmental Management.
Right, that's what I'm asking you. Has the DEM already given you a preliminary determination that you can do this?
Not a preliminary determination, advice as to what I should do to make this project work, and their advice was to get the setback. Once that setback is accepted, then I submit that information along with the design to the Department of Environmental Management. They make a determination then on what they'll do.
What was the last part of that?
I'm sorry.
They make a determination then,
They will make a determination after all of the engineering data is submitted to them. Once that data is submitted, they go through a full process at the Department of Environmental Management by all of their staff people. Their staff people will determine what the setback needs to be. It'll be noted on the plan that's submitted to them.
So let's not confuse two issues. The setback of 5 feet is from the zoning board of Smithfield, not DEM.
It's from the front of the house to the road.
Correct. But that is a condition of the Smithfield Zoning Board of Review to grant that variance. It really has nothing to do with DEM.
Exactly, right. DEM has nothing to do with that, was their recommendation. That's why I'm here. They recommended that I take that procedure.
It looks like, if I look at your drawing, that you have 53.4 feet from the property line. But it does not say how far away from the wetland stream you expect to build the house.
It should be on there. There should be an arrow pointing from the wetland stream to the right side of the house. Matter of fact, if you look at the rear mark of the house, you'll see an arrow going from there to the wetland stream. It's 53.4 feet.
I think that's to the property line.
Yeah, that's right. And the stream is beyond that.
The stream is outside your property.
Yes, it is. There's a 20-foot easement.
I'm sorry, there's a 20-foot. You said there's a 20-foot.
Easement.
April 26. Okay, well, any granting of any approval from the, granting any approval from this board would be subject to the DEM agreeing to this setback.
Okay, yeah.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. It doesn't cross it. It's vertical. No, I don't know.
Okay. Any questions from the board?
Mr. White, I have a question.
Mr. McWhite?
In looking at this plan,
We can't have private conversations.
So hold on.
Come to that. Just state your name and position for,
Christopher McWhite, Building and Zoning Official for the town of Smithfield.
swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Okay, please. Thank
The
you.
question that was raised to me by Mr. Savito was the location of where the wetland setback is actually located. There is a marking on the lower left-hand side that says 100-foot riverbank wetland. And there does appear to be some type of an arc, a hash line there marked. But there is no legend on the drawing to identify specifically where the 100-foot setback would be in accordance with DEM. So it's not clear to me exactly where the wetlands setback would be, less also where wetlands actually are. What is apparent on here is the construction envelope, as well as the drainage easement, which of course is to reference number 4 over there, it says location of 20-foot wide drainage easement.
I'm sorry,
Location number 4.
reference number 4.
Correct. Reference number 4, that is the location of the existing 20-foot wide easement on the right-hand side of the property, or cardinal direction, the east side of the property. I think to answer the questions of where the wetlands are, it would be helpful if the land surveyor were to provide some type of a legend to identify those locations for the board's edification.
Is it your understanding that DEM still has 100-foot wetland setbacks?
To my knowledge at this
I thought
time.
they reduced that to 50.
We have reverted back to the DMs for the 100, doesn't it?
We know the DEM, we don't have a buffer essentially.
Okay.
We use the DEM uses, and it depends on the wetland.
The type of wetland it is.
Yeah, this is why the determination is so key, as the board has already given voice to, because different wetlands require different setbacks, but as we understand it, since we have defaulted to the state's requirements, it's even more important that we have definitive knowledge on where the wetlands actually are.
And DEM will require that from him as part of his submission.
As would the building code as well, yes.
So can we rely on DEM to set the setback for the house?
If DEM, if it meets DEM's requirements, then he can build the house there.
Right, if you grant him the 5-foot variance, because DEM, he thinks DEM will agree with the house being a little closer to the front, you can grant it based on.
Subject to DEM approvals.
If DEM then says 25 feet is too far in, you need to be closer, then the variance is not
Well,
granted.
if DEM says anything relative to the location of the house, he has to come back to us and adjust his application.
Right, different than the plans. Right.
So you understand that, Mr. Bellini? So if we grant your 5-foot variance, if DEM comes back and says, we won't approve the house in that location, you need to move it to some other dimension, forward, back, side, left, we don't care. You have to come back to us. If DEM doesn't approve this plan as drawn, you have to come back to us and get a further variance.
Mr. Chair, the staff report about the house.
Bring it up.
Excuse me, Mr. Bellini, are you aware of the staff report from the engineering department that the house, it's not recommended that the house be permitted with a below-grade basement? They don't recommend a basement on the house, so be built with a basement because of the wetlands. The engineering department has given us their staff report, and they had said it's not recommended house be permitted with a below-grade basement elevation. Okay.
That was a question I asked him originally relative to the water table.
Yes.
And he basically said that he can't build below the water table. It has to be raised at least some distance above the water table. So he can't put any slab, anything below the water table.
Okay, so you are,
So that addresses that issue.
okay.
Everything is documented by engineers. We follow the engineers.
That's okay, thank you. Okay.
Any other questions from the board? Okay. Mr. Bellini, anything else before I open up the public hearing? Okay, thank you. All right, I'd like to open up the public hearing. Would anyone like to speak in favor of this application? Okay, not hearing any. Would anyone like to speak in opposition to this application? Come on up, one at a time.
John Stanley, 17 Sturbridge Avenue.
17 Sturbridge Avenue.
Correct.
And you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do. I'm at 17 Sturbridge, and if you have the zoning map, I'm 44B-31. I can speak on the current conditions with that drain easement right now. The bottom line is the back left of my property, again, if you're looking from Sturbridge, the back left, it's basically a vernal pool that in the wet weather will fill up and overflow. So I'm extremely concerned about this drain easement and any building over there, what it's going to do to that system. Because even my next door neighbor.
I'm sorry, which number were you?
17 Sturbridge, I'm 44B-31.
Okay, got it, thank you.
Okay, so in the back end of my property, the back left corner, looking at it from Sturbridge, that's where the vernal pool is.
Okay.
Heavy rains, the springtime, it fills up, I get ducks. But the bottom line, that drain easement is very important. And if it somehow is altered or changed, am I gonna get more water in there? That's my concern. So, I
So
mean,
the water would actually be flowing away from your property, correct? Flows
no, flowing
flows down towards Sheffield?
towards my property.
It goes from Sheffield?
Yeah, it goes from the drain easement kind of towards Sturbridge and my property line. Wish I had some pictures for you, but it's all dried up right now.
So here's the easement.
Okay?
Water flows this way?
No,
Flows
no.
this way?
From that drawing, top to bottom.
That's what I thought.
Right.
Okay.
Yep. But that's where the easement flows. What I'm saying is it overflows into like a vernal pool over towards my property. It actually, a little bit of this 44B-58, that whole corner there for the most part, that's where it kind of fills up. Yeah, and
But you understand he's building on the other side.
I
of
understand
the-
he is, but I'm looking at the zoning thing, and the easement as it passes through is 95% on his property. So whatever he's gonna build there could potentially change that.
Well, he can't build in the easement, just so you know.
Okay, but-
He- That's illegal. That's what the easement's there for. It's a town easement. You can't build.
that's my main concern, any change on that. I just don't want that vernal pool to get even bigger, because it will
Understood.
flow into my backyard.
Understood.
Okay?
Okay.
Thank you for your time.
No, thank you. Next.
Henry Casbarian, I'm at 15 Sturbridge Ave. It's lot 44E. And the easement, Kasbarian. I'm at 44E.
Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay.
The easement runs right through my yard. I can speak to the water table. It's been an issue for years. I've had sinkholes in my yard. The easement does back up with heavy rain. I've had damage to my property. Had to file homeowners insurance claims on my shed a few years back when we had the massive flooding. So my concern is any clearing of any vegetation on that lot, any clearing of that vegetation is going to probably hinder that easement. I don't know what the developer's plans are for drainage, for gutters and roof and all that. But if that water is just going to run right through his gutters and right down into that easement, that's going to create a buildup. So that's my concern. So obviously DEM, I wouldn't grant the 5-foot variance. DEM's definitely going to have to take a look at this. So.
Well, I mean, to tell you the truth, this is beyond the scope of the zoning board.
Right.
This is a DEM issue relative to.
So with
the
that
water
being
and-
said, I wouldn't even grant the 5-foot until that.
Well, okay, thank you.
That's my point, and that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Daniel Storti, 4 Sheffield Road.
Daniel.
Storti, S-T-O-R-T-I,
And where?
4 Sheffield.
For Sheffield. Okay. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
So help me God, yes.
Okay. Go ahead, Dan.
I don't object to building on this property, first. However, I do have 3 objections to what they're building on this property. May I pass these?
We have those.
You have those, but you don't have these.
I have those.
All right, these are all property from the abutting people that we're looking at. And if you take notice of every house there, it does not look anywhere near the house that they propose to build on that property. Every house here has a 2-car attached garage. This has a 2-car under the garage, under the house. Okay? My second objection to it is the lot size. Lot size is big enough, except for the fact that most of it's taken up by wetlands. Now, if DEM in their infinite wisdom decided that they can build on what's left of the land, why don't they just turn around and say, fill it in, and then you could build something more appropriate than this particular house that they are planning on building. It's not in their infinite wisdom, that's not their choice. What they're proposing to build is on a small portion, moving this house way to the front and way to the side, it's skewed, so that they can put in this piece of property. My third objection is this piece of property. If you take a look, and I will leave these with you, and you can check your rolls, the houses are fairly neat, they're fairly nice, and this particular house is dwarfed in size compared to what's around there. It's going to lower the property value of all the houses. Can I pass these up there so that people can take a look at them? Or better still, I would sit back and say, just drive by, take a look at what's up, out there. If you drive by and get out and walk, you can't walk very far before you hit wetlands. I mean, it drops right off precipitously. So that the only house they can build is something rather small and skew it to the left. And those are my three objections.
Thank you for your input.
You leave these?
You may.
Yeah.
If you hand them to the. Thank you. We're going to call this Exhibit 1.
My name is David Papineau. I'm at 12 Calderwood Avenue.
12
Calderwood,
Calderwood, yeah.
right. So my property directly
Hang on a
abuts.
second. Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Please proceed.
So my property directly abuts that property, so I'm really familiar with it. I've tried several times to get this through the zoning board. It's been rejected several times.
So are you the immediate?
Yeah, I'm right next door.
Okay.
Yeah. So he's going to build it closer to my house than it probably should be, but it's going to be closer to the road than it should be. And the reason he's doing that is because it's too far up because of the swamp that's behind the house. This person's not going to have a yard. It's going to be flooded a large portion of the time. Like just normal rain backs up into what he called the vernal pool, which makes sense. But heavy rains, forget it. It's a lake. So this person's not going to have a backyard unless they backfilled it, and then all that water would go somewhere else. So it could go into several yards upstream. So that stream's cutting right through the side. So when that stream overflows, it goes directly into that area. So it may be dry at certain parts of the year. But definitely when it rains. So it rains, the trees have been soaked, so they're having trouble even standing, some of them bigger. But if they take out a lot of these trees, like he was saying, we're going to lose a lot of that drainage out of there. So we're not going to, it'll be really bad for that section, especially for the people upstream. So my backyard, about half of it, that's where the pool is. So it's a big kind of like pond, really what it is. So I wouldn't grant the 5 feet either. So it stops it in its tracks really, because it's going to be too small a house. It's too close to the street. It's inconsistent with the neighborhood, and they have to build it there because there's no room behind it. So that's going to make the house even cheaper. No yard. They're not going to have a yard. So that the value of that house is going to be really low. So I don't suggest we give them the 5 feet and just stop it right there. So.
Mr. Chair, for the record, there were 10 photographs handed by Mr. Sorty. Correct? So the big remonstrant exhibits 1 through 10. Okay. And sir, I had a question. You mentioned that this has been tried before the zoning board before and denied?
Several times, like at least twice.
When was that?
I'd say 8 years ago, 10 years ago. And we had a lot of neighbors there at that one too, that witnessed flooding when he changed the direction of the stream at first. And it affected a lot of people's properties. So that's why they told him he couldn't build there, because he changed the direction of the stream, which was the easement. And he wasn't supposed to mess with that. So he did that to try to make it go down in between the two properties. But when that stream, it goes right through the street too. So any time that the leaves or sticks or something like that flow into that, it's just a giant tube that goes under the street, it can get easily blocked by not rubbish, but trees, down trees, branches, leaves. It just backs up and then it goes in. So several times a year, I actually go into the stream and clear it out. So to make sure that we're not going to get a backup, because it will back up. So it's a big consideration. Not granting the 5 feet stops it where it is. And the DM has never approved it. But, I mean, that leaves it open. So I don't suggest we do it, but thank you.
Mr. Gentile, do you have any information of a resolution recorded denying?
The rules were different then, it was 100-foot wetland buffer, in fact, from our ordinance, it was a big question.
That was denied, it was denied on the 100-foot setback wetland buffer, not for a 5-foot variance.
Right, that's my understanding, that was the issue. Yeah, before my time of being in town, but from what I understand, at the time, it was 100-foot wetland buffer, in fact, and that was the sticking point. Not now, when that was removed, that's a different kind of thing. I can see with the records.
Okay.
Are you checking?
Good.
Oh, I was gonna try to see.
Okay, next.
My name's Daniel Calabro. I reside at 8 Calderwood Avenue. I'm 2 doors down from the Pompanos.
Okay. Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do. I have grave concern about this, this house going up, as Dave and some of my other neighbors, Hank and so forth, have had issues in their backyard. I've been having issues in my backyard with the water, the easement. I'm upstream, so when Dave Pompano was talking about how things get backed up, I have a little bit of backup coming up onto my land. I can't speak for my next door neighbor, the Ritellos, but they're the Ritellos. I don't believe they're here, but they get constant water in their basement. I've had a couple of issues with water in my basement. I have a French drain system, but I have concern because I've lost 3 trees, and the vegetation around the easement is becoming a problem. Some of the evergreens that I have planted, they're pretty high now. You know, they're starting to be saturated. And, you know, I lost one already, which, you know, it was only a tiny little thing at the time, but that was about 10 years ago. So progressively, the ecosystem's getting destroyed by, you know, other issues up the way, upstream. So when sticks fall, like Dave was saying, Pompano from, you know, down the road there, it's just an issue. My backyard is significantly wet now. This past 5 or 6 years. 20 years when we moved into the neighborhood and we bought this house, we had filled over probably 80 yards of fill. And we had to raise the property up because when we just bought the house, there was water just starting to come in the basement in another area where the French drain wasn't. So I have concern about the alteration of this easement. Very, very concerned about that, because if there's alteration to that and it backs up, it's going to come on my property. I have a pool there. I have a cement slab and a deck, and it keeps on coming. I mean, I'm very concerned about that. The only question I have is, you know, I hope you guys, well, not my question, my comment, hope you guys don't grant this, because I just don't think it's a good, like my other neighbors, not a really a good thing to have in the neighborhood.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Anyone else like to speak? Come on up, Mr. Bellini.
Everything that I presented to this committee has been reviewed by the Department of Environmental Management. This is that was determining information that we drew this plan. This is what we have from the Department of Environmental Management and how we adjusted our plan to their instructions. So far, we've listened to people, not one of them has credentials to override the Department of Environmental Management. I don't have those credentials either. I follow what the Department of Environmental Management dictates. You don't follow, you don't build. You follow, you build. You have a fine engineering department in this town. You have a fine building department in this town. Okay, they oversee everything. I built a lot of houses in Smithfield. Nothing goes by their nose. Everything is by the document. What we're hearing is disgruntled people. I have not seen that portrait that this gentleman showed this committee. I wonder where it is from. I would like to be able to see it.
Exhibit 1 through 10.
I would like to see that.
It's houses in the neighborhood. Here you go. You can come around, you can, it's comparative homes in the neighborhood.
So, Mr. Bellini, excuse me, Mr. Bellini, I have a question about that. I have a question about the homes, the home in particular that you're building, this home here, and the homes that you have, that you're holding right now. What is your thought about building a home like this? And comparatively speaking, it really isn't something, it's not, it's a bit of an eyesore, so to speak, for the neighborhood in terms of size. So in terms of the, the abutters who have come up before us for wetland purposes, I'm talking on behalf of the house specifically, in the type and style of home that you chose to build in this neighborhood, when it really doesn't conform to the style of the neighborhood. So that was a concern, a great concern for many of the abutters and their property values, and how it would impact their property values as abutters. So what would make you think, that, coming on in, aside from any wetland issues that may or may not, whatever, DEM comes back with, I understand what you're saying in terms of the wetlands. They do have many water problems. A lot of the abutters have, come before us to let us know their concerns and previous, past concerns, future concerns, if you were to build on this property, as well as the house alone, just specifically the house style that you're building. What would make you choose this style in a neighborhood, which is an older, established neighborhood in Smithfield, coming in with a new build that to the neighbors in terms of size is not up to par, so to speak, to what their homes are, and style as well. So how would you address something like that? Aside from DEM, how would you address the neighbors who have the concerns about the style of the home, size of the home for an established neighborhood in Greenville?
Well, I take your question in two parts. You're addressing that you don't like the house design.
I'm just simply speaking on behalf of some of the abutters that came before us just now, addressing their concerns. So you're here before us with your application on, a 5-foot setback that could potentially, whatever DEM comes back with in terms of, I don't know what they're going to come back with. If they may reject it, I don't know. But if they were to approve it, in addition to that, I'm addressing the home style that you're building. Yes, I not for me in particular, but for the abutters who came before us, and they have concerns about the property value. And as a board, I'd like to hear what your thoughts are on that, and why you chose this style home in an established neighborhood like that.
Okay, I'd like to address that.
Okay.
parts that I'm hearing is, people are concerned about water, flooding. That is determined by the Department of Environmental Management. They will tell you what volume of water that pipe will handle. That stream has always been there. I know someone said that the stream was moved. If you look at the plot plan, which I have with me, I can show you where that stream was always there. I did not develop that plot. That plot was developed by another company. I came along with a builder that had lots to sell. I bought buildings. I bought the lots. As far as the plans of this, DEM will answer all of your questions on that, like either accepting or denying the final submittal. As far as the likelihood of the house, there are houses like that directly rated 3 houses away. If you look at the Sturbridge Road, the people here live in houses similar to that. Okay? So what I can do to satisfy the people is come up with some alternate renderings of the house to see if I can better supply them with something that we want. But it's a two-part situation. Okay, I'm here for a variance setback. Once that goes through, if it's agreed to, all of that submitted to DEM as I previously said. Once that information gets to DEM, they are the church, they are the gospel. We have to follow it. And it's, if they say yes, good. If they say no, it's over. Right? As far as the house plan, again, I'm going to be, like I said, I can do some modifications on that.
So what
But
is
you
this?
can't, you can't change the footprint, though. You can't change the footprint. You can't, because it's, I'm sure you maximize it based on
But I can change it with something more conducive to what they might like. I can't be tied to a neighbor feels like the neighbor's house should look like. We build houses that's. We don't go into to demean a neighborhood. I see that, there are many houses in Greenville, Iowa State that I absolutely love. And there are many houses with the facade in the front is beautiful. When you go in the rear yard, like the neighbor that smoked, Jason is in his rear yard. He's got timber sticking in the ground. He's only 5 feet away from the end of his property where it's disturbed. I can't control that. Perhaps when we do build it, I'd be only too happy to work with the gentleman, clean up his yard a little bit, maybe that would have happened. As far as the water goes, there's no doubt in my mind. The gentleman that was the engineering department back then had designed the water line that went across the road. The stream comes between 2 lots. It comes through the road, then it runs along the side of the road on the side of our property, and then goes across the road again. That was designed, and his statement on record was not 100 years, it was designed like a 500-year storm. Okay? That's his statement on record. I don't know, I can't tell you what I will do. I only do what I'm allowed to.
Okay.
Excuse me, Mr. Bellini, what was the square footage of the home that you have? What's the square footage of this home that you, do you know? I just was wondering.
I don't have, I think it's about 400. Like the other house down the street, 1196. I believe.
Thank you. Okay, thank you.
Okay, yes. Somebody else would like to speak, come on up.
I would just like to rebut a little of what Mr. Bellini said. First of all, I've lived in that house for 48 years. For 48 years, that land has been undevelopable. No one ever tried. I guess they did try, but it never got approved at that particular time. Mr. Bellini alluded to the fact that there are similar houses built in that development, and he's correct. However, there's an old part of the development and there's the new part of the development. The old part of the development has several houses that were of his style. That's away from us. It has nothing affecting the wetlands issue. They're in other parts of the development. The houses that I showed you are all within that parameter of the wetlands area that you so, marked out. So to sit back and say, can he change the house? Yeah, he can paint it red, but he can't change the footprint. And he's putting a small house on what little land is available. It can't be changed. Therefore, everybody's property is going to go down the drain because of what he's putting in that particular place. As I said, I would not be offended if he filled it in and put a big house.
It would be helpful if there was a real estate expert here that could testify that we could rely on for that.
Maybe you should have brought one in. I think that would be up to the council to, I guess, investigate that and get somebody in who could really allude to that fact. I think it's a valid point, but as I say, if you went and looked at the actual land that's available to him to build a house,
I've been
he
there.
can't build anything.
I've been there, I walked it.
All right,
I saw
then you
it.
know, there's nothing that he can build that's going to really make that property, worth anything. I think it's a loss thing. There's two lots there. There are two lots side by side. I think the second lot is even worse than the first lot. Anyway, thank you.
Okay. Now, if there's no one else who wants to comment, I'm going to close the public hearing. And I entertain a motion to take this under advisement.
I make a motion to take this under advisement.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, next case.
Case 23-010, J. Theodore Ray Living Trust is applicant and owner of property located at 292 Waterman Ave, listed as Plat 26, Lot 27, seeks a variance to deviate from Section 5.4, Table 1, dimensional regulations, to create a new lot in an R20 district.
Is the applicant here? Oh. Mr. Kane, just before you start, we had a circumstance that we just want to make everyone aware of. Peter, would you like to explain the circumstance?
So in brevity, I had a brief conversation with Mr. Ray about 2 weeks prior to this meeting. At that time, nothing other than what I'm about to hear tonight was brought to my attention. No bias was formed, no opinion was formed. I just wanted to put that out there.
Small town.
We don't listen to each other when
we talk sometimes.
So does anybody have any questions for Mr. Labudi regarding his interaction, his informal, accidental interaction with Mr. Ray? Okay, not hearing any, then we will proceed and Mr. Labudi will be voting member. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just by way of brief introduction, for the record, my name is Tim Kane, and I'm an attorney licensed to practice law in the state of Rhode Island. I have an office at 627 Putnam Pike in Greenville, and I represent Mr. Ray, Ted Ray, Theodore Ray, and his wife Sandra, and they own this property in their capacity as trustees of their revocable trust. The subject property is 31,550 square feet. And Mr. Ray is seeking to subdivide it into two lots, one which would be 20,494 square feet, and that would house the Duxbury and Ray Insurance Agency, which exists there right now. It's approximately a 4,500 square foot building. 4,500 square foot building. And the proposed new lot would be 10,107 square feet, 127 square feet. And we would propose, obviously, it's an R20 zone, a single-family residential structure on that property. So I'd like Mr. Ray to testify, so I am going to call him up, please.
Good evening.
State your name and address for the record, please.
J. Theodore Ray. I'm the owner of the property at 292 Waterman Avenue in Smithfield.
Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
So, Mr. Ray, you've owned the subject property since 1990, is that correct?
That's correct.
And when you purchased the property back in 1990, was there a building on it?
Yes, the same existing building that's there today. It was 4,500 square feet, occupied by a factory time clock repair business. And unfortunately, I think technology was passing them by. They were having financial problems. Old Stone was ready to foreclose, and I stepped in and purchased the building. I proceeded to gut it back to the concrete block walls and rehabbed it for my insurance agency, the entire 4,500 square feet.
And you've run your insurance agency out of that building at that location for the past 32 plus years, is that correct?
That's correct.
And you lived in Smithfield for over 50 years, so
Well,
you're familiar with the town, are you not?
I've been in Rhode Island now for just over 50 years. I've had a presence in Smithfield for that entire time. I recently did downsize residentially to a condominium complex up in Chepachet. But I've owned properties here in Smithfield. In fact, my insurance agency was located right down the street from where I am. I own the building next to Cumberland Farms as well.
You've been active in the town of Smithfield.
Oh, yes, very much so. In fact, I served on the Smithfield Economic Development Commission a number of years ago, chaired it for a year or two, as I recall, but it was a while ago. Basketball, softball, you name it.
And you're obviously very familiar with this neighborhood, having been down there for the
Yep,
past
yes,
50 years.
correct.
Now, the portion of the property, the 10,127 square feet that you're trying to cut off, for lack of a better term, have you used that portion of the property for parking for your insurance business?
No, I never needed it for parking, nor do I see a need for parking. Technically, I've maintained it as the separate buildable lot that it was prior to me buying the building. The town of Smithfield had sent the prior owners a letter indicating we'd like to take this lot and merge it with the other lot. If we don't hear from you, we'll do it. If you'd like to leave it as a separate buildable lot, notify us. But because of their business situation and the turmoil going, it never got responded, so the town did merge it.
And so the result is
That-
have a very, the picture tells 1,000 words. I think this is a very odd shape in the piece of property. And so you testified that that portion of your property has never served any use in conjunction with your business.
No, yeah,
And you don't see, you have 26 parking spots. Is that adequate for your business?
it's more than adequate, and I've got more space that I could create additional if need be, but I really don't see it.
And so what have you used this 10,127 square feet for the past 3 years?
I've had it maintained by professional landscapers. I've offered it to neighbors when they wanted to have pony rides over there for their kids' birthdays and so forth. But other than that, it served no purpose for me.
And would you like to see this portion of the property?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, it has been sitting there, like we mentioned, for 32 years. I think it would be much better as a single-family house. There's a need for homes in Smithfield. This could create an opportunity for somebody.
And the property is served by water and sewer, is that correct?
That's correct.
And based on your experience in the insurance industry, with insurance homes in the area, do you believe that this single-family house on this lot would be in character with the neighborhood?
Oh, absolutely. I'm not looking for a 2 or 3 story house, or I shouldn't say story, but family house. The entrance to that property would not be from Waterman Avenue. It would be from around the corner on Arnold Ave.
And is the proposed lot size of 10,127 square feet consistent with the lots in the area?
It's probably, honestly, it's probably a little bigger than the surrounding lots, not by much, but slightly larger.
And so I have no further questions of Mr. Ray, but I'm submitted a rendering. We hired a residential designer just to show you that a single-family house can easily fit in the footprint of the post office. So that's a typical house that could be built on that property. Just to illustrate the fact that we can obviously fit a single-family house footprint. Doesn't matter.
So this does not necessarily represent the house that will be built there.
No. It could be, I like it. But everybody's taste is different. Someone might like it. Picked out more. Certainly, there's certainly enough room to build a house that's in character. We do have a positive recommendation from the planning board. We obviously went as far as we have to go with this, and I also believe I submitted the analysis from the planning department. It's a very unusual situation, the way this property turned out, and then you have the dog line. And if you look down the street there, I mean, I can count 1, 2, 3, 4, just on this map, lots that are exactly like what we're proposing. You have one right here, you have one right here, you have one right here.
So Attorney,
Almost the same shape.
Attorney Kane, was the testimony, this, the lots were separate but were merged?
That's what he testified.
Before Mr. Ray?
Correct. It was, the owners were in foreclosure, I believe, at the time.
That was my understanding from Old Stone Bank.
His testimony, and I think his testimony was they were not motivated to sell. They let go.
You know, had they responded to the town in a positive way and said, yes, we'd like to keep it as a separate buildable lot, then it would have remained and left that way. But because there was no response and it wasn't, the town merged it as the letter had indicated to them.
And you purchased it after that merger?
That is correct, yes.
He didn't merge it, he didn't create that option. I would argue that the merger provision sometimes has, I don't call it an absurd result, or a different result. That's if you want to buy 10,000 square feet in an area where you all have 10,000 square foot homes, it's absolutely useless to the insurance industry. When you drive by it, it looks like a vacant lot. It looks like a vacant house. Just like everything else in there.
I will add one more thing, though. If you look directly behind my office building, you'll see a separate plotted lot that a prior that was originally part of this parcel, but it was a separate buildable lot. And one of the prior owners, this is before 2 or 3 before me, but that lot was spun off and sold to Ron Manny. And, is he? Okay. And he'd be in a budding. Ron Manny. He's directly behind my office building. Okay.
Okay. Anything else, Mr. Kane? Mr. Ray?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Board members, any questions? Okay. Not hearing any, I'd like to open the public hearing. Would anyone like to speak in favor of this application?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ron Manny. I live at 1 Sammy Lane.
Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please proceed, Mr. Manny.
Okay, I just wanted to ask you, this clarifying that it's going to be a single family. Single family. Okay. I was notified by letter of this procedure, the proceeding rather. The Smithfield or Esmond area is one of the oldest sections of Smithfield. However, recent years have seen the arrival of new town residents, new construction, and numerous upgrades to properties in the area. Our homes and neighborhood have taken on a new and improved look. I am here this evening regarding this new project. I am certain that my fellow neighbors are aware that there are some projects that fit well into an established neighborhood, and then there are those that do not. Noting that this project consists of a single-family residence, I agree that it will fit nicely into the neighborhood and has earned my approval. I would like to thank Mr. Buzzum, who personally notified myself and my wife regarding this project to hear any of our concerns and have any questions. Mr. Buzzum is to be commended for his actions here. Thank you. Well, I do have a couple of questions for Mr. Kane, or a couple of the questions. How big a house is this going to be? I didn't see any of the plans. Is it a raised ranch, a duplex?
It was 30 by 20, two-story colonial, it's a concept plan. We have a building footprint.
26 by 44.
Is the building footprint.
Correct.
And what was shown to the board, illustrative of the type of house that could be built.
So, Mr. Mandy, there is no specific house plan at this time. There is a concept of what could be built there, but there's no commitment on Mr. Ray's part as to what that house will be.
As long as it's a single family.
Correct. That'll be part of our resolution.
And the footprint, you're limited by the footprint also. It has to be built within the footprint. We're not asking for any dimensional relief other than lot size. We're not asking for any setback.
Okay, thank you very much.
Anyone else like to speak in favor of the project?
Dennis Sequoia, I am the budding property owner, 3 Arnold Avenue.
Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and
I
nothing
do.
but the truth, so help you God.
I do. I'm Saccoia. I'm not opposing the project. I guess I just have a couple of questions. I'm glad they're building, because I've lived in that house. My grandfather owned all that land. That's how long we've been there. So I'm happy they're building a single-family home, because it's going to give me some privacy from the road, because mine's the house with the Mickey Mouse ears. You ever see that on Christmas when you go by there? No, okay. My question is, the indication in the documents is that Mr. Ray is going to own the property. Is he going to build the house and own the home, or are you going to rent the home?
Yeah, my intention is to first go through the planning and the zoning process. If approved now, it becomes a buildable, saleable lot. And that's one of the options that I would be looking at. The other option I possibly could be looking at would be my wife, Mrs. Smithfield, so she doesn't like that extra 10-mile drive to Foster and Gloucester. So, but to answer your question, I don't know if we would be building a home that we would occupy. And I certainly would not take it upon myself to act as a general contractor, build a house, and then turn around and sell it. That's not what I do. I don't have that background, and it would be a disaster for me. So in that case, I would just sell the lot to a qualified professional builder. And I would, and I would be an abutting owner, and I'd be very picky and choosy if that was the case.
Do you have any intent to be a landlord?
At that property? No, no, absolutely not. No. No. Yeah, no,
So
no.
it would be either owner occupied.
Right.
Or you would probably sell.
Right.
Someone would either develop it or buy it or develop it from you to develop it.
Yeah, I might, yes, but
As the abutter, that's my major concern. We know there's no Section 8 thing with this, involved in this. But that would be my concern, how you would handle it once, if it got approved by the board, how it would be functioned.
Well, just to be clear, once the board approves this plan and this variance, it's up to the owner to do with that property, whatever he
Oh, yeah, I
chooses.
understand that completely. I'm just saying,
Okay.
I've not had a chance to meet with Mr. Ray or ask these questions. So rather than have to,
Right.
waste a lot of time, I figured it would be much
Fine.
more.
Fine, yep.
Prudent. We just asked it here and
Yep,
then now.
sure.
Where he stands and hopefully it'll work out. Your wife will move into the neighborhood.
Absolutely. Well,
Thank you.
You're welcome. Would anyone else like to speak in favor? Would anyone like to speak in opposition to this application? Not hearing any, I'd entertain a motion to take this under advisement.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion that we take this under advisement.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Carol, you okay? You want a break? Do you need a break? Would that be helpful? Okay. All right, we're gonna take a 5-minute break, please. That's the right thing.
Just say yes. So basically, I don't think you can't really talk about it. In reference to the lawsuit.
Oh, yeah. This has been going on.
If he built, if he does not build 25, if he builds it 30 feet, there's nothing we can do. He'd have to get DEM to approve it.
He put it in front of his. Yeah. That's kind of. The back is insignificant alteration. They won't review it because they sent it to their evaluation. And now they're violating them on the shed, patio.
DEM is saying he's in violation.
Because his shed is right near the brook, his patio is. The whole street is basically.
I don't think it's 100 feet anymore. I think the state legislature changed that to 50.
It's different.
Depends
So
on.
if it's a river, it's a 200, if it's a certain type of water of a certain size, it's like 50 or 100 feet. They've got different water. But for what this is considered, I believe it's like 100. And of course, he doesn't need it. None, all the houses.
The houses.
You'd have to have everybody move into the room. So, well, you put this patio. You get the shed there. Maybe we can like the shed. All the natural is still there. Because you get all kinds of stuff. Water backs up because of the beavers. The hoses touch the beavers, but they want our water to back up into our yard, you know, so. They don't want it, they want to make it an issue. We'll see. Coming out to look at the house. I said, maybe if you meet there and you see how it looks and how he's caring for it, maybe you can come up with some concepts or ideas that you would have. Because the garage is broken out.
Yeah, I don't want to bother him because he must be, he could be in the hospital, he could be anywhere.
That's Peter out of his head. Two people died. One district. Oh, my God.
I said too critical. Yeah, that's different than I want to.
At least 6 people were injured. 4 serious, 1 critical. No confirmed deaths.
It doesn't sound like he hit the, doesn't sound like he hit the brakes at all.
So you went through. Yes. Yeah, and he made it all the way into the place. Right. What is channel? GM, channel 13.
It's been a wild night so far.
Crashed through the front of the store, hit the far wall. Impact damaged the Planet Fitness gym on the front side. 2 people were trapped under the car. 1 was in critical. A man came into the parking lot.
He's gonna get it.
Straight into the store.
All right, you ready? Is Peter back?
Is he on the back? Yeah.
Okay. And it's a nice FootJoy jacket. I said in your nice FootJoy jacket.
I came from the league, so this takes priority.
I'd like to call the Smithfield Zoning Board of Review back to order, please. Next case, Donna.
Case 23-11, Bay Crane is applicant and LAR Associates LLC is owner of property located at 115 Lydia Ann Road, listed as plat 45, lot 26, seek a variance to deviate from section 5.4, table 1, dimensional regulations to construct an addition in a light industrial district.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, board members.
Name and
David.
address.
David Rodriguez, 114 Lincoln, Rhode Island, Cobble Hill Road.
You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, please proceed.
Tonight, I'm here on behalf of Bay Crane to request relief from the side yard setback for a proposed addition to an existing warehouse that's currently on the property located at the south west corner.
Okay. I guess the issue is, instead of being 40-foot setback, you want it 10 feet from the property line.
Yes.
And why is that?
We're attaching to an existing warehouse. And if we were to move that in closer, we would impede on a loading dock. So tractor trailers would not be able to back in if we move that forward.
So if you moved it, I guess that would be north, wouldn't it?
North is, if we moved it
If you moved
east,
it north by another 20 feet, you would impact your loading dock. So your loading dock is right in that corner.
so I'm showing north here.
Okay, so then it would be east.
That's correct.
You want to move it east.
Yeah.
I mean, if we asked
If we
you to move
moved it east, then we would impede on that loading dock, yes.
So he's 10 foot here, should be over here. Do the functions of the existing building and the new building, do they relate to each other? What's the use of the two buildings?
We need storage.
Just storage?
Yeah. We need a customer's request for indoor storage and newly purchased equipment that we have. So,
Well, you know, it's just, Mr. Reeves, a little hard for us. You got such a big property, and there's, you know, to think that you still have to come to us for a variance.
Mr. Chairman, space is a commodity there. We have cranes, a lot of cranes on site, a lot of equipment on site. Just the boom sections alone take up space. We store windmill blades. Yeah, so we have a lot of stuff on site, so space is a commodity. That's why we're trying to utilize everything that we have.
This is the Jackson Desmus property that you border?
Smithfield,
side?
Smithfield Pete,
Smithfield Pete.
yes.
Have you had any discussion with them about building this addition?
The vice president has Joshua Wilbur.
And
Joshua Wilbur, the vice president of Bay Crane Northeast.
The engineering department is a little bit concerned about all the impervious area on your site. Is there a master drainage plan that they could review to make sure that as heavy rains come down,
Yeah.
water is being appropriately directed?
So we're in the process of getting a proposal to tie into the sewer. Once we do that, then we can have an area where we can have retention water.
So right now, it just sheet flows wherever it goes. I mean, if it rains, it just, wherever it goes, it goes.
It flows, it would flow east all the way down to 295 into the ravine down in there.
Okay.
Sir, what's your position with Bay Crane?
I'm a project manager with Bay Crane.
So you're not the owner, so you really couldn't commit to anything that we would request of you.
No, I'm not the owner.
So there's two things. One, the storm drainage plan. Also an outdoor lighting plan. There's specific ordinance in the town of Smithfield regarding lighting and light pollution.
Yes.
That needs to be addressed.
Okay.
Okay? What about any utilities that are going to connect to this building? Where would they come from? And
Electric, that's the only one. Electricity, that's it. It's no heat.
okay,
You'd be tying into the existing electricity that's in the warehouse. That-
and that's a pretty big roof. Where will the stormwater from that roof be directed?
We plan on having that come into our property, along with all the other water that we have from the other building.
Okay, so again, we're back to that stormwater
Yeah.
drainage management, okay. Board members, any further questions for Mr. Rodriguez? Ed, you okay?
How big will the addition be?
It's 10,000 square foot, 50 by 200.
Okay. Board members, if everybody's satisfied, I'm going to open up the public hearing.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Would anyone like to speak in favor of this application? Would anyone like to speak in opposition to this application? Not hearing any. I'd entertain a motion to take this under advisement.
I make a motion to take this under advisement.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. Next case.
Case 23-12, Sun Builders Incorporated as applicant and Sun Builders Incorporated and Clover Leaf REIT LLC as owners of property located at 0 Putnam Pike, 270 Putnam Pike, 0 Brush Street, and 280 Putnam Pike, listed as Plat 35 on lots 1, 1A, 1D, and 2, seek a special use permit under section 4.3.G.6 and 4.4.G.6. Retail, business, and service, automotive washing. Section 4.3.G.23 and 4.4.G.23. Retail sales 5,000 to 40,000 square foot GFA. And variances to deviate from section 5.4, table 1, dimensional regulations, section 8.5.A.2, village commercial, highway commercial, planned corporate, planned development, and industrial signs. Section 5.3.4 buffers and 5.3.3 yards to construct a commercial project with a car wash and retail stores in a highway commercial district.
Okay.
So again, Mr. Chairman, for the record on this case, my name's Tim Kane. I'm an attorney licensed to practice law in the state of Rhode Island. I have an office at 627 Putnam Pike. I do represent the applicant, Sun Builders. We have been before the planning board and we received master plan approval and a positive advisory opinion to grant the zoning relief requested. As you know, the property is located in a highway commercial zone, one of the very few highway commercial zones in Smithfield, and the only zone that a car wash is permitted in, period. And it's by special use permit in this town. It's approximately 8.5 acres, mostly vacant with the exception of 2 small structures off Route 44 on the Smithfield side. And the property is certainly underdeveloped for a piece of property that lies right off of the highway. And my client is hoping to move forward and put the property to productive use, hopefully add to the tax base, provide some employment opportunities and retail opportunities and amenities for Smithfield residents and surrounding residents. It would be a state-of-the-art car wash, which I think would be welcomed in this area. And we would have, obviously, you can see from the plans, and our engineer will walk you through retail up in the back, and then on the Johnston side, I believe 21 condominiums. 21 condominiums, 21 condominiums. So without further ado, as far as the process that we have to follow, planning for us, public hearing, we already had it to you, public hearing. And then if you see fit to grant approval, we have to go back before the planning board for preliminary. We have to actually engineer the project at that point. We are asking for sign relief. I know that's always a concern of the zoning board. And as you consider that, I would like you to consider that we are in a highway commercial district. We're not in a planned corporate district. We're not in a PD district. We're not in a village district. We're not in a residential district. And although we are asking to exceed your height requirements, the total allowable size of the signage is, under the zoning ordinance, 178 square feet, and we're asking for 171. But we do want, we think we're going to have multiple tenants up on the hill. And we want people to be able to, if you have multiple tenants, we'd like them to be able to, the traveling public to know they're in there and see the signage. And the sign is modeled almost exactly on the one that's in front of the old Benny's, right? That's how we're going to refer to that property, the Capianato property there, exactly the same size as what we're proposing. I would submit to you, this is a bigger parcel, and it is again located in a highway commercial district. So without further ado, I'd like to call up Brian King from Decrete Engineering.
Good evening. My name is Brian King from Crossman Engineering.
Crossman?
Crossman, yes.
Okay, I was wondering, somebody said Dupree. Okay, Crossman Engineering.
Our company prepared the plans, which I'd like to go through and describe.
Sure. Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, please proceed, Brian.
Thank you. Can everyone see this here? I'm not sure if it's too low or not, but
No, it's not too low. It's just we have old eyes.
I'll give a brief overview. I'll just start at the beginning. Many of you probably know the location. This is Putnam Pike, and this is Route 295. The property is on the south side of Putnam Pike, between the 295 northbound off-ramp and Esmond Road. So it's on this side of the property. The applicant, Mr. Lafredo, owns 4 properties in Smithfield and actually 3 properties in Johnston. The total acreage of this parcel is approximately 14 acres with about 557 feet of frontage. This plan is the site plan, and I also have reduced copies. I'm not sure if you have plan sets. Okay, this is sheet C5. This is our site layout plan. And it shows what's being proposed in both Smithfield and off of Putnam Pike. We are proposing a new road. It'll be a private road, 30 feet wide, with a 40-foot right-of-way. And we're proposing 4 lots on the Smithfield side. Parcel A is the car wash property,
which is right in this vicinity here. It's approximately 1.5 acres. Parcel B is the larger parcel in the back, which shows retail use. There's currently 3 buildings shown for a total of 29,000 square feet. This arrangement could be modified a little bit between now and final design, but the intent is for retail use. Parcel C is on the other side of the proposed roadway. It currently has 2 existing buildings there for now. Those buildings will remain. And then parcel D is land that's going to be reserved. It's called common land, and that would be for a stormwater management system. So these plans that we prepared for zoning also went to planning for the master plan conceptual review. So we have the layout, and we also went through the zoning code to identify which variances and special use permits were needed. On sheet C6, we have a conceptual grading plan. And for those of you, grading plan. So if you're familiar with the site, there is a good change in grade from the roadway up to the top of the site. It's pretty steep in some areas. So we understand that, and we've prepared some preliminary grades. These still need to be final design. But the roadway that's being proposed will start going into the slope, but then it'll have like an S-curve to go with the slope, up and around instead of straight through the slope. Because the slope this is the bottom of the hill, as you would say, and then this is the top. So instead of cutting right through, we're working with the contours and S-curving the road around, which also helps out with the parcels. On each side of the road, because of the change in grades, the side on the right-hand side as you're driving up the road, which is the car wash property, there'd be a retaining wall, and the car wash property would be on the lower side. And then also as you're driving up on the left side, there would be a retaining wall. Now this would be beyond the curb and beyond the sidewalk or grass area. There'd be a retaining wall where the retail use would be set up higher. And then as we go into the end of Smithfield into Johnston, we'd be getting closer to matching grade where there wouldn't be any retaining walls. On this conceptual grading plan, we do show some location of some stormwater basins. We've actually done some test pits out there in the location of stormwater basin number 1, and you know, we did find some soils that we can work with for the design, but there'll also have to be some underground systems underneath the parking lot, which again will be designed as we hopefully move forward. These plans would have to be not only final design for the next process for the planning board, but we'd also have to go to DEM and get the stormwater permits through DEM and of course DOT, which we'll be talking about later. And then on the next, the final sheet of that plan set, we have a conceptual utility plan. Utilities are available from Putnam Pike, water, sewer, gas, and electric, of course. So those are all available. We show a conceptual utility plan where the utilities will be brought up underneath the road. The underground utilities, the electric, to service the buildings. So that's the plan sets that we've provided, and if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer. Sidewalks? Yes. During the master plan review with the planning board, there was a comment from the planner that sidewalks would be preferred at least on one side, and you know, the plans that we develop from here on would have that.
Sidewalks interior to the development or along 44?
It would be along the roadway.
44?
No, I'm sorry. It would be along the proposed roadway. We would provide at least one sidewalk, right along the edge of the new road. That would be used by pedestrians if they were, you know, walking on 44, or if the residents here wanted to walk to the utilities.
They might want to slide down them in the winter. Be kind of fun. It'd be kind of fun. Anyway, sorry, I joke. The water systems for the car wash,
Yes.
will there be any wastewater leaving the car wash area?
The way car washes usually work, many of them have a reclaim system. So a lot of the water is reclaimed, but there is always an outflow. This right now, we haven't gone through that final design process, and we would need, of course, the sewer permits. But yes, there would be some sanitary flows that would leave. And hopefully this car wash system would have a reclaim tanks to recycle or reuse water. That's a common practice for a lot of car wash facilities.
Well, I think that's an important issue. Our sewer systems are being strained, and the amount of flow leaving a car wash sounds like it could be intimidating. So what that engineering means is important.
Right. No, we agree, and we would definitely need to go through the town sewer process and get approvals and calculate the exact flow. This car wash, when it's finally designed, we're still in the beginning stages of that process.
No, I understand that, but I mean, any approval we might give to a car wash would be subject to acceptance of engineering for the sewer system.
Yes.
And whatever outflow it would be. The grades up that hill, pretty serious.
Yeah, they're very steep right now. What our plans would be, and we've also ran this by the technical review committee, is the maximum grade that's allowed for a town road is 8%. This is a proposed private road, but we would use that as well as a maximum slope. And as we get closer to the intersection, that would be close to a 3%. So it would be a gradual slope at the intersection. Then as we get into the roadway, it would be an 8% max, which is the town standard, and we would not exceed that slope.
Would the developer consider a special treatment to that roadway, meaning a groove pavement going up the steepest part of that hill to prevent, accidents and problems coming from, a sudden ice storm or, that we might, God knows in New England weather, you never know what you're gonna get. But a sudden ice storm could make that absolutely treacherous, and a car not recognizing it could go all the way down over the retaining walls, over everything. So I think a groove pavement would be a important criteria for those steep slopes.
I'm not aware if that's a common practice, but we will have, a proper crown of the road and catch basins to collect any runoff, because even the crown of the road is important to make sure that the water hits the road and drains off and is collected in the catch basins, which will be a closed system. So with this slope, we agree that the number of catch basins may be more than a flat road, because we don't want a lot of stormwater to bypass that.
Yeah, I'm less worried about stormwater and more about snow and ice conditions.
Right.
And, smooth pavement is great when the roads are dry or maybe even wet, but when they're icy, the smoother the road, the more treacherous it can be, especially in steep. So I think that's got to be a serious consideration.
I think that, the maintenance and the plowing is very important. How it's treated with sanded or a de-icer. I think that's important. Honestly,
Yeah, but you understand, then we're relying on someone to get out there early in the morning or late at night, or even in the middle of the day, to be on top of the fact that hillside's got to be treated. And maybe the guy's had a bad day, he didn't come in, and and the normal guy that does it isn't available. Now we got an icy condition, and the citizenry can slide right down that hill. Okay, it's a concern, that's all. Board members, questions for Ryan? Okay, you didn't advise me that. You didn't tell me that. Okay.
Just to preclude you asking traffic questions.
All right.
Mr. Shepherd.
As far as the retail goes, do you have any idea of what type of retail?
Initially, there was a user in mind, but that user is not currently in the mix. So right now, it's open for retail.
Well,
There's
what
no
would be-
specific user chosen or selected.
What would be your desire for that?
I can let the owner answer that, but, you know, something that's allowed by zone, a retail use that would be allowed by zone.
Okay.
So you're showing parking spaces already, is that based on, what use do you base the parking spaces on?
Well, one of the things that, the parking is based on the use, and we use the zoning table to come up, to make sure that the size of the retail had enough parking. And I think the formula for that was 4.5 spaces per every 1,000 square foot of retail. To interpret that correctly. So, and again, the retail size we don't plan would increase at all. If anything, it would decrease, and it could come up with different shapes. So we have 29,000 square feet of retail. 130 parking spaces are required. We're showing with this layout here 132.
So you'll consider it for a maximum retail build-up, if the retail comes in, doesn't require that many spaces, you have more than ample lot.
Yes.
Is Johnston side being built out with the retail, or is Johnston side not part of the plan?
Oh, I mean, it has nothing to do with this, but of course, the roadway would have to go in for the Johnston access. So as far as phasing, I'm not sure how that would work yet, but that would definitely, you know, come after at least the roadway is constructed.
Right, no, because the plans show all the condo build-out already.
Oh, I see.
Is the plan to do this all at one time?
Is it plans to, I mean, probably not. They want to know if you want to do all of this at once. I don't know if that's really could happen. So that's hard to answer at this time, but yeah. I mean, this is the beginning process, so between now and then, there's still a lot of town reviews and approvals, state reviews and approvals that would be required, so we're fully aware of that.
And I think it's what the market will bear, just like the retail, right? I don't know, shoe store, flower shop, you know, whatever, it changes, right? Everybody wanted South County Commons, right? Up where Jackson Despis's property, they never came, right? It just, everybody wants that, they wanted that, Churchill and Banks wants that, I don't know if it's ever gonna happen over there. So things change quick in the market. We know there's probably a market for a car wash, so if you get the road in, probably do the car wash. Or so if you can get up to Johnston, condominiums, that market's still hot. 3 years, that, you don't know. We don't know where that's going. You could build a road up there and you could find out there's not a strong market for that, so you're back to the retail.
Do buildings A and B on the car wash parcel, are they gonna remain?
Yes. Separate parcel. Car wash, yeah. And we can give you some photos of what a state-of-the-art car wash looks like. Who has those photos?
Exhibit 1.
Yeah, that's purely conceptual, obviously, but it shows you what a brand new car wash looks like nowadays, not your mom's car wash, I could say, right, what we're used to.
Mr. King, how big is the retail building with the 20,000?
So we're showing the larger retail building is 23,000 square feet, and you'll notice that could say single use or multiple users. Right, so if we were hoping Big Bear Hunting and Fish and Supply was going to come here, and they would have taken up a good part of the space, but they're not, so.
Is it just a single story?
That would have been a single, fishing, they sell firearms, they do different things like that. So that would have taken up the majority of that space.
Is it a single story building or two-story?
Single, your retail building, single story? Yeah. Maybe a specialty store, certainly not a Stop and Shop or anything like that. Would you like to hear from Mr. Chevron and Mr. King's here to obviously answer any questions?
Sure.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. For the record, my name is John Shevlin, employed by Park Corporation in Lincoln, Rhode Island.
Okay. Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please proceed.
So, good evening. As I stated, I just give you a little bit about my background. I've been working for 33 years, all 33 years, basically been involved in the traffic engineering side of the engineering field. I received my Bachelor of Science degree in Civil Engineering from the University of Massachusetts in Amherst. Also have taken traffic-related courses at Georgia Tech and the University of Rhode Island. Registered professional engineer in the state of Rhode Island, and I presented in pretty much all the communities in Rhode Island in front of planning and zoning boards. In particular, here in Smithfield, I've been in front of both those boards. PAR was asked to go ahead and perform a traffic study for this proposed development. I'm sorry, slow down. All right. PAR was asked to perform a traffic study for this proposed development. We're very familiar with the area. We also performed the traffic for the Smithfield Village project across the street. We visited the site to go ahead and get refamiliarized in regards to the area, get familiarized with the parcel that's being built on, and also in regards to getting familiar with the applicant's proposed developments. With the information, we prepared a traffic impact analysis report. And I think you have a copy of that report dated April 2023. So as part of the study, we did coordinate with the planner in regards to the Esmond Street, Putnam, what the study area should be. So he identified the Esmond Street, Putnam Pike intersection, the I-295 northbound ramp, and the area in between that surrounding area. So the first task we performed for the study was the data collection phase. With that, we went out to field reviews to get pertinent information in regards to existing conditions. We obtained existing stopping site distances. We obtained traffic counts. We observed measured speeds for traffic. We also took into account any traffic control devices that are existing currently. The turning movement counts we did during the peak hours. The turning movement counts we did during the peak hours, in the morning peak hour, and also the afternoon peak hour during a typical weekday. Then we also did a midday on a Saturday from 11 o'clock to 1 o'clock. Those are the peak hours of the roadways, so which is really the worst case for the traffic on the road. We took the counts this past spring, but with the habits of the way people are working now compared to where it's been in the past, there's quite a few people who work from home, which has affected traffic. So we went back and looked at the study we did in 2017. Those volumes were higher back then, so we used those volumes for going ahead and looking at existing conditions. So we took the 2017 counts, but we put a growth factor on there to make them reflect 2023. So we added 0.5% annual growth, and we increased those volumes on the roadway for that, which we feel is very conservative as part of our analysis.
Which isn't what the actual shows.
The actual is less than that. Yeah, so
Adding
2017 is already higher.
You added growth.
We
to
added
higher,
growth to that, right.
and your existing this year wasn't even at 2017.
That is correct. That's correct.
I have one other question. Do you do the intersection sight distance? I know there's a stop-in distance for the people on the road. Do you have to also do for the people pulling out?
We do, but I'll get into that in regards to what we're proposing, because it is, and I'll get into that a little bit further. So we also went ahead, as part of the safety analysis, we obtained crash data from the Smithfield Police Department for the last 3 years, so we can take a look to see if there's any patterns of traffic crashes in the area to identify those. So, you know, two components of the study that we performed were traffic safety analysis and also a traffic capacity analysis. I'll start with the safety analysis. In addition to getting the crash data, as I mentioned before, we obtained existing speeds. We looked at the physical characteristics of the roadways, roadside obstructions, and as Dave mentioned, sight distances. We took a look at that as well. We did determine in regards to within the half-mile study area, the crashes in that area. The majority occurred down between the Speedy gas station, that plaza, and also the intersection Esmond Street and Putnam Pike. A lot of the crashes that occurred out there were either rear-end crashes or angle crashes. Rear-end are typical a lot of times at signalized intersections. So we went ahead, there was, you know, very small percentage that resulted in injury. So we did take a look in regards to the overall safety of the area. As far as the traffic capacity analysis, as I'll explain, like I said, the existing conditions, we determined up to 2023. We also looked at two other conditions in the future, and it was future no build, which goes out 5 years to 2028, is what we usually look at for future build conditions. And then we also looked at a future build. So the future no build was taken into account anything that will be developed, not including this building. So we included traffic volumes for the Smithfield Village as part of the future no build in order to go ahead and determine that. With the future build, future no build and future build, we also took into account in regards to the planned roadway improvements that we went through with the Smithfield Village. We use that as what would be the existing configuration. As I mentioned, that's a project that is been approved by DOT, been approved by the town. The last I've heard from talking to the attorney, the developer is still looking at that property as far as marketing it to see what would occur there, but it's something that is in the process. So we feel that by the time this project gets going, that would be the future build condition, but we continue to work with that developer and go ahead and move that along. We had included the plans in the traffic study that we had for the proposed improvements. I don't know if you want me to summarize regards to some of the items that we're going to do, but the major ones were putting a dual left turn lane from from Putnam Pike onto Esmond Street. We also went ahead and took a look in regards to adding a lane for going into the Smithfield Village parcel. Then also the exit or the driveway on Putnam Pike for that development at that time was going to be a right turn in, right turn out driveway there. So we also coordinate with the planner to see if there's other developments that we should consider to be part of the no-build. According to Mr. Phillips, there was nothing else right now that should be included that was on the books for development. So basically, our future build included the Smithfield Village. For the proposed future build, that's taken into account in regards to the future no build. And this is where it gets confusing. And then we add the trips that can be generated from this proposed development. We create those trip volumes by using the industry standard ITE, the Institute of Traffic Engineers Trip Generation Manual, and also for some of the uses which don't have uses in that manual, we made assumptions. We took the traffic volumes for the morning peak hours, afternoon peak hours, and Saturday, and we distributed them within the traffic stream based on the existing traffic flow and traffic patterns that are occurring out of the project area. The level of service, then we ran the Synchro analysis, which is software, Synchro, SYNCHRO. That's the software that's used for doing capacity analysis. We ran that to determine if there's any intersections or any areas that fail. The intersections for particularly Putnam Pike, Esmond Street, and the proposed development did operate with little impact. The little impact, traffic impact. The intersection that we looked at for the proposed development, we looked at a warrant analysis based on a warrant analysis. And based on the volumes proposed for Smithfield Village in this development, it does trigger a signal there. So what we're looking to do is to put in a traffic signal at that driveway, which will be coordinated with the signal down at Esmond Street and Putnam Pike. So they'll be coordinating and talking to each other so they operate on delayed motion, so it helps with the traffic flow in that area. So it's a summary of what we looked at. Like I said, based on our study for traffic safety and capacity, we're of the opinion that this corridor will be able to operate at a successful level of service. We know going forward, we could continue to coordinate with folks at Smithfield Village. We'll also be coordinating with RIDOT. RIDOT will need to go ahead and give us a physical alteration permit application for not only the traffic, but also the stormwater design that's being done on site to ensure they're not impacting. So once we get through this process, that'll be our next step is in regards to going to meet with DOT in regards to determine what more details are done in regards to finalizing and get that approved from DOT. It's a quick summary. It's a lot, but I'm here for questions.
So should Smithfield Village not go ahead and you want to start building your project, will that traffic light be there at the end of your street, even though Smithfield Village won't have a driveway across the street?
The hope is yes, and that's something we'd have to go in front of DOT for because of the fact of getting out of that site. We feel more than anything that traffic light would help with the safety by going into that driveway. So
I would think that the only way that this project can go forward is with that traffic light at the end.
that's correct. Yeah.
When you were doing the Smithfield project, that was part of the plan with their project. You needed the light at that area already, right?
Smithfield Village? No, because the driveway that they had coming out was right turn in, right turn out. So there was nobody coming out of that site that was going to be taking a left turn. So, and that's the reason why it's right turn in, right turn out. So,
Everyone that wanted to go left had to go out from Esmond Street.
correct. And I think with a traffic signal here, I think that's going to help traffic on Esmond Street because now they'll have people within the development will have a signalized intersection that they'll be able to come out to before anybody who wanted to go ahead and take a left will have to go through the development, come down Esmond, and then take the right and the left onto Putnam Pike.
Does this analysis include, you had put in, I just remember when you presented for the other ones, I have a few questions, sorry.
No,
Does it include the 2 lanes into Esmond Street?
it does. It does.
This
Yes.
recommendation.
Our analysis was based on what's been approved from DOT. So it has the dual left turn lane there and the widening of the roadway. Dual left turn lane and the widening of Esmond Street. And DOT, I know, is in the process of obtaining some right-of-way on the Speedy property in order to accommodate that widening.
In intersections, the sight distance is not an issue according to your report, because if there's a traffic light, you're not worried about how far you can see coming up.
Correct. I should have came back. You asked that question before, and that was basically it. With a traffic signal, it really doesn't come into play. But, you know, looking up and down that corridor and with the speeds that occur out there, I think they do have appropriate sight lines, but I think with the traffic signal, you know, it really doesn't come into play because of that.
I always heard, how does this, what's your recommendation as it relates to coming off of 294th ramp? Because I always heard DOT had an issue, a light close to the ramp for whatever reason, but is there a backup that you anticipate on the ramp?
No, you know, based on the analysis, we don't see it backing up, you know, onto the ramp. I know they don't like traffic backing up onto the ramp, and there could be some, but there is going to be a merge in there that will work out the details, but there's going to be no issues as far as them backing up onto the roadway there. Based on the volumes and based on the projections and the
That's what I was
timings.
asking, but in terms of what your project's going to add.
Right, right. This development's really somewhat of a small trip generator when you look at the use. Trip generator. You know, when you look at the uses, I mean, it does depend on what that retail is. We analyze it based on it being a strip plaza less than 40,000 square feet based on ITE. So that could be, as I mentioned before, specialty stores, could be a barber, it could be, you know, nothing that's going to create a lot. You know, a car wash, you know, it does take into account, you know, busy days, but a car wash, you know, many days, you know, doesn't generate a lot of traffic or minimal traffic. And the residential is relatively small use for trip generation.
We get snow on the ground for a month straight, it's probably not getting too many cars.
Right, right.
Okay. All right, thank you. Any further questions for Mr. Sherwood? Shevin? No? Okay.
Thank you.
There's no further, I have no further witnesses, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Board? There's a lot of data here. Any questions? Okay. I'd like to open up the public hearing. Would anyone like to speak in favor of this project, this application? Would anyone like to speak in opposition to this application?
Dennis Rivard, 19 Julian Street.
Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay.
I am opposed, obviously, for traffic reasons. The 2 lanes on Esmond Street and the 2 left turns going into the village when it comes around is a traffic hazard. You have people coming out of Julian Street, trying to take a left. You'll have to cross 3 lanes of traffic to get, 2 lanes to get back into the right lane. I'm sorry here.
Okay.
It's already loaded with cars now. I'm coming down here today, I was in my backyard at 5 o'clock. It's already backed up from Dean Ave, almost up to Julian Street. I don't know how you can, in your right mind, could think that you could actually improve traffic. This is the same scenarios we had when we were fighting Churchill and Banks years ago. Traffic is the main problem. DOT can't even solve it. They didn't even know what to do with it. I don't think adding a light, time light, will do anything. Traffic will back up on 295 ramp because it's a gauntlet just trying to get across to turn onto Esmond Street. And to have a light there
it's gonna back up. You'd be a fool not to think it wouldn't back up. The people coming in from Greenville area, if they're gonna come into the businesses in this new development, there's gonna be double the traffic, synchronized lights. It ain't gonna cut. I don't think I've ever seen a synchronized light that ever worked properly. Talking about a car wash, the car wash on Killingly Street, there's always cars there. You see people getting free vacuums there. That's loaded. And they're coming onto Killingly Street. There's a lot of cars there. Plus, we already got two car washes. You got Apple Valley and you got the one at the Sunoco gas station. So that would just add a third. I don't know how Speedway would feel about them having their property taken in the ice cream shop. I mean, I don't know what would happen there. But I think the traffic is already a disaster there. Because I come home every day and walk for 295, and I got to run the gauntlet, come across, look, and now you're going to look and you're going to have a stoplight right there. So now you're going to look and you can possibly ram into somebody there when you're trying to cut across. To take the Esmond Street side and to open up the 2 lanes and an entrance on on Esmond Street to get into the village, which probably will pass. You're gonna have tractor trailers trying to make that left turn. You're gonna have, even in this development, you've got that hill, and you're gonna have tractor trailers coming up and down that hill. Even if you have the line gravel on the line roads you mentioned earlier, even if you have ice, the ice is going to fill all the grooves anyways. It's going to be smooth no matter what. And who's going to take care of the road? Is it going to be the developers? Is it going to be the town? I just think that it's an overload for that intersection, that area. It's just messy now, and it's going to get even messier. They used to have all these little cars lit up on their screen. They're showing all this traffic pattern. Personally, I think it's all fantasy. It never works. Computer simulations don't usually pan out to real life. So if I can think of something else, I'll let you know. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rivard. Would anyone else like to speak in opposition to this application? Okay, not hearing any. Mr. Kane, anything to wrap up?
Traffic's bad everywhere in Smithfield. You know, Greenville Avenue, Newport Creamery, Smith Street. Coming here tonight, I came down this way. Yeah, it is. It moved. You know, I was backed up on Esmond Street, but I got here in 2 minutes because there wasn't a lot coming Dean Way. So, but it doesn't mean that my client can't develop his property because we have heavy traffic in Smithfield. We're a mobile society. People don't get up at 7 and go and work at the same job and come back at 6. A lot of us don't. We're driving all day, doing this, that, the next thing. So we need a light to safely get in and out of this property. I think that's undisputed. We have plenty of, with the line of sight, we have the light, we can get people in and out. The 2 lanes is not for my client's project. That was for the Churchill Banks project. So I asked you not to confuse those. It's 8.5 acres in Smithfield, directly off property, directly off the highway. The uses that he is proposing are perfectly appropriate for highway commercial use. They have to go back to DOT, they have to do the warrant study, and they need to get the light to make the project work. So I believe the testimony from the engineer, from Crossman and our traffic engineer, meets the burden for a dimensional variance and a special use permit. If we can get a light to get people in and out of that property. And I'd ask that you grant approval, and then we can engineer it and go back to DOT and back to the planning board. That will take some time. And there has been decent construction on slopes in Rhode Island, including the Home Depot and BJ's down in Johnston, which, you know, goes way up, but it works. Thank you.
Mr. Can you just clarify for me? So the use variances.
There are no use variances, so we can run you through the dimensional variances if you like. All the uses are permitted, either by right or special use permit. I believe the retail's by right.
Okay, and the dimensional variance?
So the dimensional variances, Brian, can you do that?
Dimensional variances for these uses here.
Correct. Why don't we walk the board through some of these dimensional variances? So Brian is going to walk you through these dimensional variances, because there are a lot. And why don't we start with the two existing buildings?
I'm sorry, the two existing.
The two existing buildings.
The two existing buildings, where they're located today, they'll need a front yard variance and a rear yard variance. Because with the proposed lot here, it's 1.5 acres. Setback, we're considering this front yard as well as Putnam Pike. So this building here currently is within the front yard. And this building is also in the front yard and rear yard. So this is one location where we're asking for dimensional variance. Another location we're asking for is for this larger retail building. Even though this property is owned by Mr. Lafredo, the applicant, we're considering the town line as a property line. It's not today. Well, it is between Smithfield and Johnson, yes. So that is, it's a 50-foot rear yard setback. We're requesting 30 feet, so 20-foot variance.
I'm sorry, Mr. King, it's a 50-foot rear yard setback, but
We are requesting it to be 30 feet, but 20-foot variance. There's also a dimensional variance proposed for the car wash building, not the building, but the pay stations and the overhang that's over the pay stations. The building is not, is acceptable as far as the location, it's just the overhang. What we also did is we listed the dumpster here, just, out of caution, to the back line, which again is owned by Mr. Lafredo, the applicant. We noted that is one of the variances as well. I think that's all the dimensional variances. For the sign, is that considered?
Yeah, absolutely.
So the sign as well. I guess I apologize. That's the last one. Both sign for this development is right here. It's on the east side of the new roadway, and the reason why it's as large as we're proposing, although the overall square footage is smaller, height, and the distance from the ground to the bottom, we need a variance for because there's going to be multiple users for the retail. So because we're in a highway commercial zone, we're going to have multiple users. We feel like they're going to want to be represented on the street because they're going to be set back. So that's the reason for the sign.
So, and I would respectfully submit to the board that given the nature and the size of this project, we're not asking for a lot. Just to summarize, because we're putting a private road in here, we need variances from the existing buildings. They're there. There's nothing we can do about that. We have the residentially zoned Johnston property in Smithfield. Mr. King, could you approximate the closest part of this building to the closest proposed condominium? How many feet would that be approximately?
I'm sorry, Mr. King, the last part. Closest part of this building to the closest for.
The proposed condominiums in Johnston.
How many feet would that be?
Yeah.
Actually, I have a scale. Approximately 175 feet.
Funny, Tony, he didn't need any use.
even though we have a setback regulation of 100 feet, we're 175 feet away from the closest residential building, and obviously, that area can be buffered. Again, the dumpster back here, out of an abundance of caution, I don't really think that qualifies as a structure, but if we build something around it, it will be, so we ask for a variance from that. So, given the overall scope of the project, I don't think it's asking for a particular lot. The retail uses are permitted by special use permit, so we're before you for that, as well as the car wash. A restaurant can go in there as a matter of right. Highway commercial district. We're not asking.
But that was my point. I think I might have called it a variance, but it's a special use permit.
Mr. Keaton, the variance for the two existing buildings, because they're in the front lot, or in the front, you need a variance for them being in the front?
Well, this becomes frontage now, when we put the road in. So now we have a road there, so we have a setback, so that's why.
Okay, not that they're in a front yard, it was front setback, okay.
Correct.
I'm just trying to make sure I was following your table, that's lot C.
Right. Yes.
Correct.
And those are part of the ownership, part of Mr. Laredo's property.
Yes, yeah.
Okay. All right, I think we now have, see, so you want that whole list approved by us tonight?
It looks like a lot. It does. The devil's in the details, right? But I think when you look at it, I mean, there's nothing we can do about the existing buildings. They're there. They'll be remodeled, of course, right? We have to put a road in. And then you have, the other one is the 100-foot setback. But it's the town line is the residential line, and we're 175 feet from the nearest condominium we can buffer. So I think the intent of having that setback is satisfied by the actual distance. Those are the biggies.
Mr. Chairman? I just have a couple more comments, if it'd be all right.
Sure.
The traffic that would be flowing out of the development will have to stop at the light. So that means they got to time that light perfectly with the traffic coming off of 295 and from 44. Now, more traffic build up in the development means either a short light or a longer light, which means more cars will be backing up onto 44 and 295 ramp. Because I don't know how many they anticipate on being in this development, but considering there's a lot of retail in there, you're gonna have cars constantly in and out. If it was all residential, I could probably tolerate it, but being commercial, this car is constantly flowing in and out, and I think that the traffic light there will cause such a mess because of the timing. They got to time it either long to empty out 44 in the ramp, or time it long to empty out the development. So somebody's going to lose traffic-wise, and I think it's a severe safety issue with people trying to cut across and the backup. I can't see it any other way. I think anybody with any common sense could see that happening. They just can't help that. It's so simple. It's right there. All that traffic. I mean, like I said, I do it every day, and it's always backed up. And so I just wanted to reiterate that.
Okay. Okay, so with that, I'm going to close the public hearing and entertain a motion to take us under advisement.
I make a motion to take it under advisement.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. The last case of the night.
Case 23-13, Shadish Holdings LLC is applicant and owner of property located at 351 Douglas Pike, listed as Plat 42, Lot 19, seeks a special use permit under Section 4.3.G.3A and 4.4.G.3A. Automotive filling convenience retail to operate a gas station with convenience store in a commercial district.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Richard Nicholson, and I'm an attorney, and I represent the company making an application this evening.
Oh, I don't have to swear you in because you're an attorney.
Exactly, that's right.
Right, yeah.
Although you may if you wish.
Okay.
And just for the record, my office is located at 9 Thurber Boulevard, Smithfield.
All right, Mr. Nicholson, please proceed.
Mr. Chairman, board members, we're here on application for a special use permit. I think we all are familiar with this particular location. It's the old Chester's, affectionately known as Chester's. It's been a gas station, convenience store, candidly since the 1940s. It has a permit to pump gas. A little way of background, back in the day when it was zone farming, it did obtain a special use permit to pump gas. And that's all it was required to do. Even they were selling out of their ice cream, cigarettes, drinks, all sorts of things. And they've continued to do so since the 1940s. So, today we are formally asking for a special use permit so we can formally sell convenience store type items out of this location. The zone is appropriate for the automotive filling convenience retail. This board has the authority to grant a special use permit for what we're asking for today. And I think it's important just to point out that notwithstanding the fact that we would like to sell more convenience store items out of the location, we don't really expect any sort of significant intensification of the site. We don't expect any significant intensification. We're not looking to modify the footprint of the location at all. Certainly, we're not looking to change the general character of the surrounding area. In fact, my client has gone to a great extent to keep the charm of the area by keeping it more like a farmhouse looking structure than anything else. And we'd like the board to consider that my client has gone to the extent, and you'll see in the application, the footprint of the facility and parking and the ingress and egress. And we have 3 points of ingress egress at this location. It is important to note that there is the state did install, or rather the state did recently reconfigure the intersection located at Douglas and Whipple. We're not looking for any additional ingress or egress out of the location. We're not looking for any drive-through. We're just looking to keep it just the way it's been for the last, well, since 1940, since 1948 in particular. So, there's not a whole lot more I can say. The utilities won't interfere with ingress egress, won't interfere with pedestrians walking by, although there's really no curbing over there on Route 7 to interfere with. We've done quite a bit to keep the beautification of the area with landscaping. We are installing a guardrail at one side of the property to keep cars from perhaps tipping over the edge. And of course, we'll be installing fencing along the parking lot that abuts our adjacent properties. So if you have any questions, and the 3 owners are here today, Mr. Chairman.
Wow, they're very patient people then.
Oh, they are super patient, but they're all Smithfield residents, and they have invested considerable in this community.
Well, Mr. Nicholson, just one thing that was commented on in our technical review committee's review is that the striping for the patrons of the convenience store, there needs to be some striping there that directs them not to walk across any of the egress or ingress or people driving to the gas islands. So we need to address some striping in a crosswalk fashion that would lead them to the parking areas where you expect them to park if they're going to run into the convenience store.
We don't see that as a problem, Mr. Chairman.
I mean, the work that the applicant's done in creating the new station certainly is very nice, and I know appreciated by the neighbors. And from my own perspective, it seems like there's increase in business there too, which is great. And maybe a convenience store will even add more to that. So just creating, a better safety situation for the pedestrians, I think is important. The building official did say something about the existing garage doors and the glass in that. So if your owners could get a copy of the technical report and review that with the building department relative to the existing glass in the garage doors.
We can do that, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Okay.
And we believe it's the same type of construction and energy efficiency that we see at Laura's, the Trap, and Thirsty Beaver. There's a certain energy efficiency with regard to those types of doors, and they installed the similar.
I am not a glass expert. Just check with the building inspector and see what his comment, what their comment was relative to that glass. And if it's already taken care of, then that's all great.
Thank you.
Okay. Board members, any questions for this applicant?
No.
Okay. Mr. Nicholson, you good?
I'm good. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, board members.
I'd like to open up the public hearing. Would anyone like to speak in favor of this application?
Tim Kane, 6 Locust Circle, they've cleaned it up immensely. They hire teenagers, they train them well. My son works there, so I'm biased, and I want to be able to buy something in there. So they've done a great job. It's an asset to the community. They're good business people, so
Great.
hopefully they can move forward.
Thank you. Not hearing anything else. Would anyone like to speak in opposition to this application? Okay. With that, I would entertain a motion and take this under advisement.
Chair, I'll make a motion that we keep this under advisement.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. Would anyone like to make a motion that we close the zoning board of review and go into deliberations?
Make a motion that we close the zoning board of review and go into deliberations.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Now the easy work's done. Now we get to go to work. All right. Okay. All right, the first case 23-007. This is the Cotugno property on Ridge Road, where they want to add an accessory family dwelling unit. Needs a dimensional, 300 square foot dimensional relief for the total square footage of the ADU. Would anyone like to make a motion regarding this application?
I make a motion to pass as submitted.
Okay, Motion's been made and seconded. Any questions, concerns, discussion? Okay, not hearing any. All in favor of the application? Signify by saying aye. Opposed? Okay, unanimous. Okay, next case is 23-008. Deanna Brennan and Matthew Stith want chickens on their property. Would anybody like to make a motion?
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to deny under many circumstances. One would be the rodent infestation that is caused by chickens. Two, the smell of the area, and plus the lot being smaller and with very congested housing there in that particular part of there. And to go one step further, a street over, this board denied a similar use. And the consistency, I think we would have to deny this only because of denial of the other resident that wanted chickens.
I mean, we can't put that in the motion, though.
No.
Okay, so a motion has been made to deny the variances requested.
I second that motion.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion or questions? So now, just so you're clear, by voting aye is to deny. Okay. All in favor of the motion as proposed?
Aye.
Signify by saying aye. Aye. It's unanimous. The application is denied. Okay. Bellini Construction requesting a 5-foot relief on front setback. That's case 23-009. Would anybody like to make a motion so we can discuss and vote?
Mr. Chair, on this particular application, there are a lot of questions that are really not answered. And the biggest factor is DEM. And under normal circumstances, I think anyone that was going to enter into construction, knowing the fact, the importance of getting DEM approval prior to actually coming before this board. And I know the question is, he's here before us for the 5-foot setback. We had a lot of opposition by the neighbors, which I'm pretty familiar with that wetlands there. And the actual run actually starts on Smith Avenue, continues all the back, all the properties where this is, going down Sturbridge in Greenbrier, right through to Sheffield, and keep going down. And a lot of those people do flood historically. Now, there was mention about this being denied for wetlands, and it was. It was, many years ago it was. And they also made reference to the older homes, which would be the first part of the plat, which started in 1968. And at that time, smaller houses, basically, those were the style that was built. But as the progression went, all of the homes with the restriction had to have a two-car garage. The restrictions, the plat restrictions died after 25 years. So there were a lot of, that flooding area is a problem. Now, and again, I'm going to reiterate the fact that he was only here for that 5-foot setback. But there were a lot of unanswered questions that, you know, even though DEM has changed their regulation, there's potential problems without getting a DEM approval, and he didn't even make the fact that he applied to DEM waiting for approval. So it's, I think the question is that he's looking for the passage of this 5-foot, then go to DEM, and then, of course, come in for a building permit. I don't know, the opposition, I mean, they all had very valid concerns. And that's what troubles me, when we have that many concerns on abutters that are right there. They're right as we speak, are dealing with some sort of runoff issues or water issues by this brook. And it is a running brook. And it starts from Smith Avenue, as I said, runs right across through. And yes, when there's debris or brush that builds up, there's flooding. From Greenbrier all the way down, every single one of those lots, and they made reference to Mr. Rotella's, who wasn't here, his yard also floods. So, I mean,
So do we have a motion here? We have to have a motion so that we can really discuss this a little bit further.
I would have to make a motion that we deny the application because of further study without DEM even entertaining or having it.
So you make a motion to deny on the basis of
Not enough information for us to make a valid decision on as far as the DEM approval.
Okay. Motion's been made and seconded. Now we can discuss and then before we can vote.
I also, just so the members are aware, as you discuss, it may be because of Ed's concerns, maybe worth looking at your elements.
For dimensional variance?
Right. Just briefly, so that. One of which is the hardship, which the applicant seeks relief is due to the unique characteristics of the land and not the general characteristics of the surrounding area. Hardship is not the result of any prior action of the applicant and does not result primarily from the desire to realize financial gain. I know there was some discussion from one of the abutters about the stream being moved or the drainage easement being moved. So that could be prior action, I don't know. The granting of the variance will not alter the general characteristic of the surrounding area. Relief is the least relief granted. In granting the variance, the hardship that will be suffered, if it's not granted, is more than a mere inconvenience. So Ed, for your DEM portion, I think that could be with respect to your concerns regarding prior action of the applicant or something going on with that area.
The applicant didn't do anything to the area.
Well, I don't know, that's what I'm saying, I don't know if that's where the DEM should fall, because somebody mentioned that drainage easement where the river was moved at one time. I remember somebody testifying to that. Otherwise, then you have to find something else with, you know, your concerns with DEM.
Here's my concern, board members. If we deny a 5-foot variance, on what basis in our zoning code allows us to do that? Because if we deny, and then he goes to court and says, well, they capriciously denied this 5-foot variance, and you're denying me the opportunity of developing you're yielding my land useless. I have no use for my land if you won't grant me that variance. It's more than an insignificant or
More than a mere
inconvenience. I just don't want to set us up to be sued if we're denying a 5-foot variance, when I think the house across the street is closer than 25 feet to the road. I hear all the things, and I think, can't we pass this, if we pass the 5-foot variance, it's subject to approval? by DEM.
We'll have to go that road,
Because
I don't want to wind up in Superior Court.
I mean, I hear the neighbors saying, well, just deny it, then it goes away. But the fact of the matter is, we're then denying his ability to do anything on his property. If DEM approves, then DEM, it's on DEM to make sure that water is contained and that the house being built. The thing with real estate, you know, there's no real estate expert to testify that this house is going to cause the neighborhood to
That was the
lose
other
value.
thing too.
It's a small house, but it's the only house he can build on that land. So if we say, well, you can't build that house, you got to build a 5,000 square foot house, then, you know.
Then I'll change
Then we're denying his ability to use his land.
Then I'll change my motion to approve pending all DEM requirements are met.
withdraw your first motion.
I withdraw my first motion.
I mean, I hate that these people have this trouble with the water in their neighborhood, but I don't think us as a zoning board denying a 5-foot variance is going to help them.
I think you're right, John.
Help them one bit.
Yeah.
I second that
Discussion.
motion.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion, questions? Okay, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Okay. Vote's been changed to 3-1. Vote has been changed 3-1. There was a nay vote by Vice Chairman Marcello. Okay, case 23-10. This is the Ray Insurance Property seeking a 9,873 square foot relief.
Chair, I'll make a motion that we approve the application as planned.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion, questions, issues? Not hearing any. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. Case 23-11. Bay Crane. They are looking to build their 10,000 square foot warehouse addition within 10 feet of the property line, needing 30 feet of relief.
I make a motion to approve pending that once they do what they do, the stormwater retention is handled, that was discussed.
And a lighting plan.
Lighting as well, right.
Okay, motion's been made. And motion been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Now, did you get that motion regarding stormwater management plan and a site lighting plan? Approved with those two requirements.
Submission?
Mhm. Submitting stormwater management plan and a lighting plan.
Is that going to, did the staff report say that's to the engineering department or to?
No, it's not DEM. It's to the engineering department here in Smithfield. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, passes unanimously. All right, this is Sun Builders. We have a list of items to be approved, special use permits for the car washing and retail businesses. And dimensional variances as listed in the application. I wish I could make a motion, but I can't.
I make a motion that we pass this application with the conditions of all of the items on that list, Jim,
Mhm.
and the traffic lights, DOT approval.
I second that motion.
Traffic light DOT approval.
So in other words, a traffic light needs to be in place at the end of the new road
Correct.
at 44. I agree with that. That's important, right? That's good. Okay. Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussions? Peter? Okay, no further discussions. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, passes unanimously. And then the last case is 23-13. Shadis Holdings for the special use permit to have a convenience store with their gas station on Route 7.
Chair, I'll make a motion that we approve the application as applied.
Second.
Okay, motion been made and seconded. I'd like to just add to the motion that the pedestrian walkways be striping. Yep, striping.
I think they said they were going to install a guy.
Guardrail in the back.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded.
Pedestrian walkway.
Striping.
In the rear, right?
Well, no, front or rear. So, you know, here, the pumps are here and people are gonna enter here, so they need to have some type of,
From parking to the.
from parking to the convenience store.
Because I think the main entrance for the convenience in the back.
No, it's not. It's right here, right next to the pumps. Been in there a bunch. Okay, motion's been made and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Okay, it's unanimous.
Chair, I make a motion that we close zoning board of review.
I second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good work, guys. This was a tough night. A lot to be discussed. A lot to be covered.